probably shouldn't be putting this stuff out public.
No, but like,
oh,
no,
well, hello there.
It's the order of words you said. Like, if I could get myself back in shape, and I'm like, what?
But you
No,
know what I meant.
I know what you meant, man. But
I don't know
come
what
on,
I said, but you know
it's
what
a
I
family
meant.
show. There are youngsters out there hanging out. And, no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, all of our friends, all of our loved ones are with us here, wondering what the heck TK and Juan are talking about. But you know what? That's how we started. Welcome to the best of our week, everybody, ladies and
Welcome.
gentlemen, and of course, everybody. I see Marilyn with us. Android Stud is in there as well. Davin Davis is in there. Barry
I'm
Johnson,
already
of
feeling
course.
the screw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, absolutely. Farhan's in there with us as well, kicking it, and of course, Darren. Everybody with us. Thank you very much for joining us. It is. You know what? Is this the last Thursday of the month? I want to say this is the last Thursday of the month, right?
Yeah, this is
It is.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
the month
I
ends on a Wednesday.
on a Wednesday next week. Yes, which oh yeah, speaking of which, I do need to talk to you about next week's show, but we need to kind of talk a little bit. Well, maybe we'll talk later
Yeah,
on about
because I
that.
also need to talk to you about next week's show. Might
Oh, good.
have something myself to do.
Oh, good. Goody, goody,
You're not
goody.
the only one that gets to travel occasionally. Maybe.
I see. I see how it is. Yeah. Okay. We'll have to make it happen. But no, this is basically obviously a show that we have that we like to just kick it around, talk, and we obviously try to joke as much as possible. But it's our way for us to connect and of course connect with you guys. So the best of our week is a culmination of things that we had, and we'll obviously talk about what's the best of our week, and maybe it's not necessarily the best, but also things that are working on coming up next week. It sounds like Juan and I may not be able to be on the same schedule.
We'll have to see. We'll play it by ear. But you know what?
Yeah.
Next week is next week in linear time. That's
I think that's how it works.
an
Yeah.
unknown. But right now
Yeah.
is right now. And right now we've got all kinds of crazy stuff to chat about. And
No,
to
no,
talk
absolutely.
about and to dig into.
First and foremost, I will say that I am absolutely jealous of you and Jeff
Yeah.
for the fact that you guys got your hands on some really hot, really, really nice pieces of audio candy. And it is candy. I will call it right now, flat out. It's a candy. It is absolutely a tiny piece of gold. Supports Bluetooth. Well, I mean, the Fiio BT7 is just an absolute. I mean, I know it's tiny, but it just, yeah.
I mean, because it's not that tiny. I mean, I thought the BTR5 was kind of chunky, and if you hold it up, the BTR7 is a chunk, but it's small. I mean, because you know the Q3.
Yeah,
the Q3, it makes it look little next to a Q3. So this is the BTR7. This is a Bluetooth or cabled. You can also go USB-C DAC.
Yeah.
It's notable because, I mean, it's very similar to what the BTR5 does. You plug in cabled headphones, you connect this little transmitter to your phone over Bluetooth, or you can plug in a USB-C cable, and it's just much higher quality audio processing hardware than most phones use these days. But the BTR7 is notable because it takes up not just a great DAC, there are dual ESS Saber DACs in here, but also dual THX amps. So it's an amp per ear. And it's basically it's almost like having a THX Onyx per ear.
Speaking processing of that audio. I'm actually getting my THX Onyx on Friday. I mean, not tomorrow, Saturday, sorry. So I'm getting one.
The Onyx is so good. I mean,
dude, it's the Bolt and the Onyx obviously are. I mean, so we did the exchange. I played with the Onyx. So I'm really excited to get my hands on my own to be able to keep this one. But the audio solutions, those are obviously not as strong or not as obviously they don't support Bluetooth either. They need to be cabled directly. But the fact that you guys were able to pick it up, that's the first thing that kind of got me off, because I know for like weeks we were talking about you trying to look for them. You couldn't find them. You're trying to contact the company and they're like, hey, just let me know where to get it. Just point me in the direction of, where do I throw my money?
I was not dignified. I was like grabby hands at PR. I was harassing this PR person over email. I was like, I don't even need you to send me one. I just need to know when it's available. And actually, Jeff still scooped the PR guys.
No, so I know.
LFA Reviews. I'll say like I want to say like 12 hours before Fiio PR got back to me. Like he was on top of it. He knew when it was landing, and this thing is great. So I do want to highlight this here from Farhan asking, I'm still new to the audiophile world. I don't understand that Fiio thing. You use that for DAC sound quality for Bluetooth headphones or earbuds. Am I right? And you are wrong. Someone was wrong on the internet. How dare you not know a thing, Farhan? That came out way harsher than I meant it to. So what we're excited about when it comes to these kinds of solutions, Bluetooth earbuds have been getting really good. You got a little case and you've got 2 individual earbuds, you put them in your ears, but you've got 3 batteries in here. And so even if you've got really good earbuds, we have to know the total life cycle of a product like this is going to be less than on a really nice pair of in-ear monitors, cabled earbuds, cabled headphones. So, you know, like I've got some Ecos and I've got some Odyssey all tangled up on my desk here because I've been going crazy listening to different headphones and different earbuds.
Yeah.
So when you've got really nice IEMs, when they're not, these
Tangled
Ecos are not gonna let go. They're like fighting me.
Were you trying to combine the multiple drivers into a 6-driver configuration?
Right. Yeah, for my reptilian
right?
multiple ear flaps.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I love about spending a little bit more, and obviously these are Odysseys, and that this is a crazy tier. These are $1,300 full MSRP. But when you buy something like this, you have detachable cables. So when the cable starts to wear out, you don't lose the driver. If you really like the driver, you can keep it. So I've always preferred the traditional cabled IEMs and then combining them with something that I can use wired or wireless. So these are cabled. I'd have to plug them into my phone and then I'd be tethered to my phone. I plug them into my sound card here on my PC. I'm tethered to my sound card. I've got a little, I mean, it's not the best, but I've got a little headphone amp that I can plug them into, and it's a little bit nicer than my sound card's built-in audio. But then I'm stuck, and I'm stuck, you know, with this as my leash. Well, that's where we enter in the Bluetooth DAC. So your phone sends a signal to this little box, and then you plug your headphones into this little box, and you and your phone can now separate from each other while you're listening to really high-quality audio. And Fio's done a remarkably good job, I think, of moving up to supporting newer codecs. So
I was about to jump into that. With the Q3 that I have, obviously it's a wired connection, so there's no wireless Bluetooth connectivity. But this one, what type of codec are we talking about? What type of technology are we looking at?
The BTR5 gave us aptX, aptX HD, and LDAC and AAC, but you know that's just for poor iPhone users who don't understand that they don't have the best audio anymore.
It's crazy, when I review headphones and they're like LDAC on Android only, and then it's AAC on Android. Like, so yeah, sorry.
We should feel bad for them.
We should.
Sorry. The BTR5 was refreshed last year to include aptX Adaptive, and that kind of combines. It can potentially deliver higher bitrate playback, but then it also combines sort of aptX, low latency, and HD.
So Bluetooth LE as well.
Yes.
Oh, good.
So that's what we're dealing with the BTR7. The main top 2 codecs are going to be aptX Adaptive and LDAC. And the first thing I paired this with was my Pixel 6 Pro, so I couldn't use aptX Adaptive. It found LDAC, the Pixel knew what to do with it, and I'm listening over LDAC, and I'm listening at a higher quality. I don't know what's going on with Pixels, but even on Android 13, I still don't think it's handling dongle DACs at full max quality of what the DACs can deliver. And now here I am on a Bluetooth connection actually kind of besting what a cabled connection on the Pixel 6 is going to sound like. So that's killer. But what's also tremendously exciting about something this small, a little portable battery, I know people like, oh, I don't even think you can hear the quality of like 24-bit 192 kilohertz audio or DSD. A lot of people are going to kind of play that. But what's really fun is, and what I think people really hear when they step up to nicer audio is a better amp. And the amps, plural, in the BTR7 put out twice as much power as the amp in the BTR5.
Individual amp per ear. That is just crazy, man.
So this is bigger, and it has to have a much bigger battery, but it's got the same runtime. It has the same battery life estimates as the smaller BTR5. So you're like, well, wait a minute. If they put in more battery, it's because this thing is capable of putting out twice as much signal.
Well, because I mean, in a specific
it's incredible.
Way, you're running double the hardware. If they take into 5, multiplying by 2, and combining it as a slightly bigger, form factor. So from a sound experience, I personally, it's not easy to describe how the audio sounds, but it's more about, for me, it's what you can hear. And I think you said this in the past as well. When you're listening to audio, when you're listening to tracks, especially at a higher bit rate and also higher quality, with better listening equipment, you can actually hear the differentiation of the instruments, the snares, the little hisses in the background, those little things that you typically get on when you're listening to bare buds or headphones that are more mids and lows focus, where they're just washing out any of the details out. So it's a couple of things. Obviously, you need to have good audio files, good audio source files. It's not just about listening to streaming content. I mean, Juan has a massive, amazing collection of. It's not as massive, I guess. Okay, but it's FLAC. No.
I do actually have a pretty ridiculous collection of FLAC. But then again, I also really like Qobuz because the minimum quality on Qobuz is 320 kilobit MP3. So I mean, like, your minimum quality on Qobuz is kind of the same or higher than Spotify Premium. What I, because to piggyback on that, and this is why I kind of feel some of the audiophile conversation gets lost in the weeds. I definitely prefer, when I have the opportunity to listen to high bit rate, high frequency response FLAC files. I just like knowing whether or not it's, my brain can actually perceive the acoustical differences. I prefer knowing I am getting what I'm paying for. I want all the bits of the money that I'm spending on my premium entertainment. And I have so little recreation time, I want it to be the best. And and if it's placebo quality, great. I want placebo quality because that's what I'm paying for. One of the reasons why I'm anxious about BTR7, because it is kind of ridiculous overkill for one of these portable music streaming kinds of devices. But I do genuinely believe, as people are starting to make that trip down audiophile territory, what's really impressing is the amp. And especially, these are the THX AAA certified amps. So it's the same amp that's in your Helm. It's the same amp that you're gonna hear again in that Onyx. This is extreme. The whole focus of this amp is extremely low noise, extremely low distortion, extremely high signal. And so even if you're listening to compressed audio, you probably haven't heard a decently ripped MP3 driven to this kind of clarity. Your ears are competing with way less internal noise. Your ears are competing with way less signal or distortion. Your ears are getting so much more signal. And I mean, it is an intense amount of signal. This is one of the first times I've picked up an audio product, and I even found myself kind of sneakily turning the volume up higher and higher and higher because it's just so full. It is such a good sound that I just wanted more and more of my skull. I wanted that sound to just kind of keep filling my cranium. Like, I had to walk myself back, and I haven't had that experience, like that feeling with something that could fit in my pocket since like the LG V20. When I got the LG V20 and I plugged in headphones for the first time, and like, oh, this is doing something very different on really nice cans. And I would just kind of, like, without even thinking about it, like, it's not that it's loud. I don't want loud, because to me that's piercing and shrill, and it can kind of start distorting the signal. Here, it's just like, I've got, like, infinite headroom. I'm listening on those Odyssey Euclids, which are crazy planar magnetic earbuds, and a comfortable listening volume is maybe a fifth of the total output of what this thing can do on the 3.5 millimeter jack. It gets twice as loud again when you go to the balanced output. The kind of power on tap here is ridiculous. And I actually do, in the video that I put out today, I had to put out a buyer beware. Like, it's gonna sneak up on you. You're going to enjoy how full this sound is, and you're not gonna realize, like, you've just been burning your ears out because you keep turning it up. It's just so much headroom. You never have to fight distortion or shrill or piercing sounds or discoloration from, you know, the sort of frequency mechanics that you start driving electrical interfaces harder. I mean, it's like it's like pure torque, and it just keeps going. It really is a remarkable little puck. It's $200, so it's not an impulse buy. I'm not saying people should rush out and get it. The BTR5 refresh is stonking good. It is a fantastic little Bluetooth DAC. This BTR7 is rocking my socks. And it really did genuinely kind of take me by surprise when I started firing it up.
I like that. I see Aditya has joined us. Ash has been kicking with us. Darren is as well. Steve DeRoche, bonsoir mon ami. Actually, you know, Steve is staying up pretty late with us as well.
Hey, Steve.
For I guess for most, since we mentioned the obviously the THX Onyx and with the Helm Bolt, who do you think? So who should consider looking, because obviously those are more affordable. They're around $100 or so, depending on which one, and if you're getting
then the Helm Bolt is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely,
I mean, it's genuinely good.
It was very hard. I'll say this: when I got a chance to play with the THX Onyx that you had when we swapped the Helm Bolt and that, I had a hard time telling the difference between the two, even though technically THX is, you know, makes the Onyx, and it's supposed to be more of the standard there.
For sure.
The Helm was actually holding itself pretty well. So, and I like
the Helm again. I'm putting it in that same category because the Helm is also a THX rated amp.
I was
so
about
the Onyx
to say,
is the first party version of this idea. If you want a THX certified device, I mean, it makes sense. You would maybe want to buy it directly from THX. The Helm is a sleeper. The Helm is a cheaper way to get a similarly rated from THX, a similarly rated amplifier on your music. Absolutely. And the fact that we're putting these into, I mean, where is my, it should be on my desk here somewhere. So the fact that we're putting them into floppy little USB cables is ridiculous. I mean, I think I'm probably spending about $1 more on the manufacturing for the THX because it has the little magnet.
Yeah, well, it's also longer cable. The cable on the THX is longer. But yeah, no, it reminds me of the Chromecast. Remember the first gen Chromecast from Google?
Oh,
the magnetic clamp for the HDMI. Speaking of which, they haven't had a new Chromecast for, it's been some time. But what I wanted to ask specifically for you, because because you've played more of the Bluetooth side and on. Oh, and before I leave that, does the BTR5 or the BTR7 come with an app? Is there an app for you on your phone, or is it
so there is Fiio control, and I probably should have. I was just flying putting this video out because I got it, and I haven't taken my ears out of my Euclids driving this thing. I was obnoxious to my family. My daughter would come running up to me and be like, "Daddy can't hear you," and I'm not going to turn down what I'm listening to right now. I'm sorry.
My answer would have been, "Honey, hold on a second. Here's your pair. Let's listen."
I felt terrible. At one point, I actually did tell my daughter, "I need to hear this. I've had a very long week. If you need to tell me something, you're gonna have to write it down." Because I'm not gonna take these earbuds
out. Oh man, you're pushing the challenge.
Again, as soon as you do, I mean, she's a lovely, precocious 6-year-old. But as soon as I take out one ear, she's gonna tell me a story, and I'm gonna put it back in, and then she's gonna remember something. I'm gonna have to take it back out, and then she's gonna tell me something, and then I'm gonna put it back in. So making her write it down slowed her down just enough that she could just tell me what she needed to tell me, and that was fine. No, but I didn't have to keep popping earbuds in and out of my ears.
But back to the story. I'm sorry.
So sorry. That was a tangent. I completely lost the thread. What was it that you'd asked me? It was
no. So I'm saying specifically about the app. So I know you put out the video, by the way, on the Patreon.
So I should have focused a little bit more on the app. There was a firmware update that dropped hours before I was like gonna upload this video. And one of the changes.
Hmm.
So I hit the BTR7. The thing I'm most critical on are the EQ presets. So
Okay.
you've got a bunch of, like you've got pop preset and classical preset and hip hop
Electronic,
preset.
hip hop. Yeah, typical ones. Yeah.
And EQ off is like clinically flat. I mean, you could make an argument for using something like this as like a portable mixing or recording tool. Like
Oh,
it
okay.
is analytical, like it's so stark. Even I was going, a little color wouldn't be terrible, guys.
That's
That'd be
funny.
fine. I usually listen kind
That's
of,
funny.
if anything, I'm always like, hey, give me a little bump in the
I
mids. I
will
love
take a
that
little bit
clarity,
more
that's
on this
extra,
one,
it's
please.
great.
Yes, a little bit of
Even I
sweet
was like,
flavor.
hey guys, this is empty. This is so flat. So
But
the
I guess,
firmware
like you said,
update.
it would be great for editing. You're right. If you're
Oh,
trying to edit audio or
you
anything, you want to
you
hear
would
everything it
I,
is.
I would immediately trust this combination if you had a decent pair of, I mean, again, you're wearing DT770s right now,
Oh yeah.
again, just a decent pair of headphones that don't color the sound too much. The amp here, the DAC here, is going to give you accuracy
Hmm.
where that's not always entertaining. Accuracy isn't always what we enjoy, but if you're working on audio, that's what you'd probably want. But the app
Absolutely.
also, the firmware update, excuse me, also unlocked PEQ, parametric EQ adjustments for the presets. So
Okay.
you can go in there at very specific frequencies of sound and dial up or dial down inside the preset.
So
So you can
creating
take
a
that hip hop
custom, so you
preset
create a custom, right? You use a baseline and then you change. You
and not
basically try
just
creating a custom based on a preset. Yeah, it's nice.
one, because they have like user customized preset. You
Yeah, yeah.
can kind of go in now and nudge. So like the hip hop preset I think is too dull. I think it kind of rounds off the upper mids in a way that you lose some of the clarity and some of the edge that can really make hip hop pop. And at the
Hmm.
same time, I don't think they're giving enough of a lift to the low frequencies that help that rumble. So I'm listening to Run the Jewels and I'm kind of
Yep.
missing both sides. Like Run the Jewels, I actually want just a little bit more of a smiley face, not quite a deep V, but a little bit more of a smiley face shape,
Yeah.
because I want that club rumble. Like I want it to feel like it's gonna flop my subwoofer cones. And at
Yep.
the other side of that, I want that overly aggressive, harsh, sharp presentation of vocals that always cut
Yeah.
through their mix. And the hip
Absolutely.
hop preset out of the box on the BTR7 kind of dulls all of that. And you're like, no, you've missed both sides. I need that. So now I can go in the PEQ and like start nudging in some directions, and it's hyper precise. It's not just, oh, you kind of move this bar graph slider. It's like you go in there and you say, at this frequency, give me a 3.2 decibel increase.
Nice.
And
Okay.
you write it out like you're back in like high school,
Does it save it
physics.
to the hip hop preset, or does it create a new preset under your separately so that in case
So
you want to go back?
oh no, if you want to go back, you can always just reset. I mean,
Oh, okay.
at
So
no
there is a
point
reset
do
button. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So there all of that stuff is saved in a way where you can nuke it all.
Okay.
But when you're kind of futzing around in that app, you've got a lot of room. So the one I really need to do, I'm
Hmm.
going to take some Hans Zimmer. I'm going to take probably the Lord of the Rings
Lord of the
soundtrack.
Rings. Yeah.
I need to fix their classical. Their classical preset is the worst of the bunch. It is hot garbage out of the box. And again, it's a little like the hip hop preset on steroids, but it just kills all of the articulation in the mids. I don't
Yep.
know what they're doing with their classical preset, but it is so dull. And I'm listening on like, ecos and odysseys, and I'm even popped in some chi-fi. Like I pulled out some of my KZ, and it
Hmm.
didn't really matter. It didn't really matter what hardware I threw at this thing. It was classical, just always sounded bad. So
What
I
happens
need to fix that.
when you're running them in wired mode? Is there a big difference as far as overall audio? As far as yeah, is there an improvement in USB-C kind of being that you're able to you're not relying on Bluetooth anymore. You're going straight into the amp. Does that improve at
Um,
all in the experience?
not nearly as much as when we were in the BTR3 days.
Okay.
I believe if you were to give me a blind taste test, I doubt I'd be able to hear significant differences.
Okay.
On BTR3, it was
Okay.
very easy to see, but I would really have to listen for sort of the reproduction differences. And
Yeah.
I think, and especially back when the BTR3 was like the new, and they're sort of not top of the line, but it was one of the nicer options that they had.
Yeah.
When I got my hands on BTR3, I believe I probably could have heard a difference on, especially on things like classical music, jazz, live room environments. I think I could have nailed it if you gave me a blind comparison.
Comparison to, okay.
I don't know that I'd be able to on BTR7.
Okay.
BTR7 hits so hard and the amps are so good. I mean, someone with golden ears could maybe pick out some of those dithering and what do you call that? The sub resampling when you take an audio file like a FLAC file and you kind of squish it over Bluetooth and then it has to be repackaged in this codec and then it's expanded. I'm sure there are probably some people on the planet that can reliably catch those differences. I don't think I'm one of them.
Oh,
and now I just have
now
I just have a really good solution that is super easy to plug into a laptop because laptops aren't really supporting these advanced audio codecs very well. Then as soon as I detach it from that laptop, I've got a Bluetooth puck that's ready to go for phones and tablets. So to me, that's kind of the best of both worlds.
Does it offer simultaneous connection as well, or not on this model? Like dual connections or anything? No. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's any multi-point. I mean, I've dug through that app. I've tried pairing it with other things. And if there's anything, it's probably going to end up being a little bit more like, or like my Bear Dynamics just have that quick repair mode.
Oh, okay.
So when you go in, you still have to initiate it from the Bluetooth settings. But I don't even know that it has that. So again, this is a very singular kind of high performance audiophile. I mean, I'm plugging planar magnetics into a little Bluetooth puck, and it's handling them, and I've got headroom.
I love
like that's real good. That's really good.
It's exciting. I'm excited more about the fact that you're excited about it. From what I use and what I like about them, I think the Onyx and the Bolt probably fit a little bit more because I was contemplating on picking it up. I love my Q3, and Q3 works great with my PC because it allows me not to rely on my PC's sound card or because I don't have any like a high end sound card. I'm using basically internal audio, so the Q3 just does amazingly over USB-C. So for me, it works absolutely magic. And for the on the go, I think the Onyx for me, not the Onyx, but the Bolt, it's been working well for me. Every time I travel, I use it as my my portable DAC. Great for audio from any device. And I found that was the one thing I think when we were looking at the Onyx and the Bolt, like the Onyx was a little bit more picky with devices. It wasn't as compatible for some things, and I felt like the Bolt was a little bit more,
a little bit,
little bit specifically more of that Samsung flavor of things. Or I think it was OnePlus. I think we were talking about before. I think wasn't it like a OnePlus at that point? But either way, a lot of good audio solutions. The video is on the Patreon. I think is it going to be live today or tomorrow?
Video went live this afternoon.
Okay, but is it live on the channel or just Patreon only? Because I think
no,
I got
no,
the email saying
live.
Patreon only. Oh, okay.
It's live Pixel. Live Pixel. It's live public. Again, just to kind of put that into comparison.
That's a good tag, by the way. It's live Pixel. I love that.
Right.
You should yeah.
So BTR7 is a power step above BTR5.
Oh yeah, of course.
For a lot of the output, BTR7 is nipping at the heels of Q3. So the electrical output of what the Q3 is capable of, this like little mini hip flask of a portable DAC.
Absolutely. The best way to describe it, hip flask.
That's what BTR7 is doing, and it can go wired just like Q3, or it can go over Bluetooth. So I think the Q3 is a great buy at $150 MSRP. I think the BTR5 is a great buy at around MSRP, around $150. I think BTR7 can kind of replicate both of these for $200.
Oh, okay.
So that to me kind of becomes that purchasing decision. I have been very fortunate to play with a number of these different dongle DACs and Bluetooth DACs and battery powered units. I have kept Q3 and BTR5 in regular rotation.
Mm-hmm.
I think BTR7 can kind of retire two different Fiio
Two different
DACs.
pieces. Oh, Fiio, absolutely. I think from what it sounds like, at least the step up that you're getting here, it makes it more of a maverick, a master of all trades kind of things, and actually a good option to replacing those three. Yeah, you don't have to run with three; you just run with one, and then maybe Lex can use the other, and of course the missus can use the other, and of course share the love of music. So I think it always sounds really good. Yeah.
Marie has my BTR3. She cracked the glass on it, so maybe it's time that she moves up to a BTR5.
Maybe maybe I see a BTR5 in the future. But so the good thing is with these type of hardwares, I mean, as long as you're able to charge them, you're able to use them, and they perpetually keep just improving the audio regardless of what you're connecting them to. And I think that's the big solution here that you want to recognize. It takes the onus off of the device that you're using, the smartphone, the PC, whatever audio output that you're using, or audio generating equipment, and it helps you improve the audio quality, even if it's not as good originally, like even if it's compressed as we were talking. So I think that's the biggest difference between audio normally, and the biggest thing you want to make sure though is don't just pick up like a BTR5 or a BTR7 or even an Onyx or a Helm. Make sure you pick up a good pair of cans to listen to audio with it, because you need to be able to use the power to drive these cans, and the 770s are ridiculously affordable, like especially if you get the 40 ohms as opposed to the 80. You could definitely pick up a pretty decent price on them, and they're super comfortable, as you guys see every time on my live stream.
I mean,
with Juan,
I like the 250s. I'm just saying that's me. The new DT700s are really solid.
You got a chance to
I'll kind of push back against some of that, TK.
Okay.
There's we have an idea of really nice audio, and right now Bluetooth is taking the win for this idea of convenience.
Of course.
I've got a little battery pack, and I've got these little earbuds, and how convenient I'm not tethered to my phone. That is one kind of convenience. Another kind of convenience is having earbuds that don't need to be charged, that don't need to have batteries replaced or become disposable when they start to wear out. And I feel like that's a long-term kind of convenience.
Yeah.
I think someone interested in this audiophile journey, because this improves everything. Like we're talking about audio as kind of an abstract. I mean, obviously we mean music. TK and I both have kind of a love of sitting and listening to music as the activity, not just as the soundtrack to another activity. But think about every time you stream a movie, the audio channels that stream on a nice high quality movie feed, like from a Netflix stream, that audio is often in higher quality than a Spotify stream. Absolutely. Every time you play a game, you're often listening to audio that is represented at a higher quality than a Spotify stream. So really it's kind of on...
It's a lot better than Spotify. I know.
But I'm just disappointed. Like Spotify Premium, I was that guy who was waiting out for years for some kind of like true Spotify HD, and here Apple Music is giving us at least CD quality. Amazon HD is giving us great quality. Qobuz rocks my socks, and they've just started. I mean, I think they only have like 6 tracks, but they've just started dipping their toes into spatial audio. And here's Spotify like, we've got podcasts. And you're like, that's not what I want to pay for Spotify. Excuse me. But everyone needs to kind of pick where they want to start on that journey. I think a lot of people get caught up in the trap of, I'm going to spend $200 to $600 on a pair of Bluetooth cans. And now those are my nice headphones. And that's what I listen to for the audio quality. And I think if you take a ride on one of these like dongle DACs, you start out with like a BTR5, even if you're just plugging in an okay pair of KZ, You're starting off with a better bass, more customizable, incredibly more powerful. Just the clarity, the articulation, and the source that is being driven from that dongle DAC is going to make even just normal sounding consumer headphones a little brighter, a little more sparkly. You're going to drive them better. And from there, I think you've got an opportunity to then say, well, okay, these $30 Chi-Fi earbuds really perked up. What if I start looking at multi-drivers? What if I start looking at dynamic over-ear cans? What if I plug in some planers? And from there, you can really kind of round out an audio catalog, as opposed to, I spent a whole bunch of money on this one Bluetooth headset and now that's my nice audio. You can have a good sport pair of earbuds, a nice over-ear pair of cans, some good mixing cans that are good for passive noise reduction. You'd want to wear them on an airplane, and all of them can be powered by a little Bluetooth transmitter now, and you're probably still under the MSRP of a pair of AirPods Max. You know, like, you can put together an entire catalog of just high profile. And
sorry, when you said AirPod Maxes, I just said the gold standard, obviously. But yes, sorry.
I mean, oh no, but wink, wink.
No, sorry.
But I mean, if you're going to spend that much money on a single audio solution, you could outfit, an entire, an entire spectrum, so that you have the right fit for a bunch of different uses. Like sporty earbuds, nice listening earbuds, nice over-ear cans, and like you were saying, like those DT770s that you're wearing, not prohibitively expensive, and can be powered now relatively cheap for a portable product. It used to be Bare Dynamics like that needed like a whole hot box full of vacuum tubes that would glow on your desk to get a good signal out of them that wasn't just horrible noise in the background. And now I've got like, where'd it go? I've got like teeny little puck. And you're like, that can actually kind of run some DT770s and it's going to sound pretty good. Like, that's easy. So anyway, I get real sort of deep in the weeds on this kind of stuff because I feel like the representation of this is colored by a bunch of YouTubers that start every video with, well, I'm not one of those stinky audiophiles, but here, let me show you these $500 cans. And you're like, at some point, maybe we should stop listening to people if they're telling us that they don't care about audio, and instead we should listen to some people that are audiophiles, and we'd get better audio experiences out of them. I just think it could be kind of nice. So
and I think for me,
that's my thing.
I guess my original statement was more focused on the way I like to enjoy the music, the way I like to play my content, and just if I'm just sitting there, maybe on a flight, in a car, or even in the office, I want to have a little bit of quiet time, me time. That's the setup that I typically look at. But you're right. So, you're right. Any buds will benefit from a good.
I think that's my argument. I honestly don't know that it's the best strategy. I don't. Well,
I mean, it's the starting point, right? It's the teaser, right?
You've got to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere on the buffet. I like to say you got to start somewhere on the buffet of sound. And if you're going to start off by at least getting, let's say, a Helm or an Onyx, you're at an amazing start, and you're going to automatically, from day zero, on a pair of wired buds, that you're going to definitely enjoy that. The thing about it is, we now are seeing so much more. Specifically conversations around Bluetooth audio, because literally there's a very small number of devices. Sony devices are obviously included in this conversation, but very small number. And I'm sorry, and I also want to say the Asus Gaming, the ROG series, as well as the Zenfone 9 has it. But it's a small number of devices that are still carrying a strong enough of an amp and a DAC that can drive some higher impedance buds, or not buds, headphones. But yeah, you're right. I digress. You're right. The point you have it there makes perfect sense. You have to start somewhere, and if you just use what you have and just this, you're at an amazing start.
So I mean, again, I don't know that that's always going to be
very long
the
way
right.
Of saying you're right.
No. I mean, and I appreciate that. I'm very objectively almost always correct. The reason why I'm kind of hedgy there is like there are so many different ways that you can kind of get into this with a bit more appreciation. and maybe it's you've got a phone with a headphone jack, and we know that those aren't audiophile anymore because the only company that was really pumping those out was LG. Well, and Asus. You were right with Asus there too.
At least with the Jeff's playing with it. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but yeah, he got the Asus Zenfone 9. So yeah, for sure.
So maybe what gets someone interested in this is hearing audio on a $30 pair of KZs.
Yeah.
And they hear something in that representation that they haven't heard before. And even on sort of a lower power, inexpensive phone with kind of a practical headphone jack, maybe that's what kicks it off too. I feel your base starts you off. And the thing is, like, if you can pick yourself up a BTR5, and that's not a small purchase. I mean, I don't want to minimize a $150 entertainment purchase, but it's a $150 entertainment purchase that should outlast several generations of phone and can make laptop and desktop audio sound better than any built-in sound card that you're likely to get. Outside of like the most premier gaming hardware. So this is just the little kickoff because this is my tease. I've also been playing with another audio product, and I mean, when I say I've been playing with it, like literally just got it out of the box, just started playing with it. And I mean, it doesn't look like that impressive, right? Like here's a little USB laptop hub. It's got like memory card
I was about to say it kind of looks like a hub.
It's got an HDMI port on it. You know, you can put in a USB-C for power.
It's a USB-C hub, isn't it? No.
But then you see like the little icon for high-res audio.
High-res audio on there. Okay.
And then you turn to this side, and it's got 3.5 and balanced audio outputs. And this is the new laptop hub from Eco. So I was just holding up the Eco earbuds that were tangling up my my Odysseys. They make a phenomenal DAC. They have that DAC that has that really funky like magnetic breakaway cable.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you remember that one. I reviewed it like in the middle of the pandemic. So this is this is a full laptop hub, dual memory card readers, HDMI with support for 4K 60 frames per second, USB 3.2 ports, and high-res DAC built in 3.5 and balanced 4.4. So I'm going to play with this next. And thank you, DTNL. The Eco Zerta was their little dongle DAC. This is their new laptop solution, and I'm real stoked to play with this next. Because again, I mean, like the headphone output on the Surface laptop was pretty good. I mean, it was better than I was expecting it to be, and something tells me the folks at Eco can do even better. So I'm gonna pop this in there. It drives me crazy, like when we fire up like one of our docks or like the next dock, and you plug in headphones, and ooh, does that not sound good when you go over like a USB sort of HDMI output?
Absolutely,
dock like that.
Exactly. No, and I'm with you. I'm with you on this. I forgot. Twin Folks Tech is saying, "Forgot it's Thursday." I'm like, "Hey, how you doing, man?"
Nice of you to join us.
No, definitely, absolutely. And I see Michael Peppertech is with us as well. Anon's in there, Ash, and of course. So the biggest thing I think I would probably just say to summarize the experience is first, find out exactly what you're looking for, what you're trying to do or what you're trying to improve. And there are so many options available. I think that's the biggest thing. From a small $100 piece of tech that you can plug in to $150, the refresh on the BTR5 or the Q3, or even want to jump up to $200. It's definitely enjoyable regardless at any level, but it sounds like at least what the appreciated thing is if you do go with the BTR5 or the 7 is make sure you download the application, update your driver, update your firmware as well so that you can get the latest updates like the last one you got with the BTR7. So that's a nice little addition.
Yeah, the 7 firmware update that does help fix a major issue with it. But again, above all else, just I think it's worth that little bit of exploration, and I think it's fun. I think it's a lot of fun when you're mixing and matching pieces to sort of arrive at a nearly bespoke solution for you, rather than just whatever company sort of makes the first party accessory. I'm sure Galaxy Buds are fine, And I know
I'm sure
that
they are. I
the
don't have them yet,
AirPods
but yeah.
Max are good,
Yeah.
but they are not my preferred listening, and I don't feel like it's so complicated,
Hmm.
right? I don't really believe the idea of Bluetooth simplicity. I just feel it's Bluetooth familiarity. So you get, some AirPods and an iPhone, and that's familiar and it's understood. It was really easy to buy all of that together directly through the Apple Store, and it all came shipped to you, and everything's cool.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that's really any much easier than getting something like a little BTR and then buying some really nice planar magnetic headphones that reproduce sound in ways that, like, no Sony's, no AirPods, no other sort of like mainstream, no Samsungs, no AKGs. Like, when you start listening for that kind of stuff, and you're trying to appreciate what it is that you're feeding your ears, to me, like, that doesn't seem like it's any more difficult. And I got something that was hyper specific to what I like,
Yeah.
and it was still cheaper. That's the thing that really wigs me out, is like, I'm buying the puck and I'm buying the headphones, and I'm still saving money on a
Hundreds on by comparison to even close to that. The one thing I would probably say, like I said, it's more about more about knowledge and learning. So if you haven't had a chance to yet, make sure to check out the video. It's available on Juan's channel. It's public now, so no longer on Patreon only. Oh, you can see the glimmer in Juan's eyes.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, we could definitely I mean, seriously, we can turn on a few topics here, and then Juan can just finish the show. I'll just go grab a couple.
Just let him go run.
I'll just go take a nap.
I do want to
kid,
try
yeah.
and answer this, because I'm not sure what Apple's claims are. Michael Peppertech is asking, in layman's terms, what does high impedance mean in reference to the claims of the headphone jack on the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros? And honestly, I wouldn't know until I could measure it. And I just don't have a lot of faith in Apple's marketing to properly describe what an enthusiast feature like that could mean.
Yeah.
My assumption would be they are high enough output headphone jacks that you should be able to drive 300 ohm resistance headphones.
Yeah.
So, like, you could go get the Barodynamic Pros that TK is wearing. You could get the 250 ohms, and you should be able to drive them on a MacBook headphone jack. But unfortunately, Apple plays fast and loose with all of these types of certifications, and they love to break standards. They're not really playing ball with these things that we would normally look for in compliance. So I don't know. I wouldn't be able to know until someone actually measured the output. Not just like, oh, I plugged these in and now I can see that this is louder than that. I mean, like, some analytical measurements on what happens when you connect audio hardware and cables to that thing. That would be my guess, but I don't know what Apple actually delivers. Or again, it's kind of like how we can see high res labels on a lot of products,
Yeah.
and then you really measure the output and the playback, and you're like, well, it is better than CD quality, but not by much. So I mean, it's really high res.
Yeah. It's higher than the res. The rest.
Right.
Maybe the res stands for are missing a T.
Oh, and Raj talking about the Axon 7. That's still such a monster phone. It's so sad that, like, not only did we give up headphone jacks, but we also gave up audiophile headphone jacks.
Exactly.
All because a bunch of YouTubers were like, I don't know, can you even, like, hear the difference? And you're like, well, you're just really not good at this, are you?
No, you need
just real bad at tech.
It's one of those. You're right. Like you said, if you preface it the conversation saying, "I'm not an audiophile," and you just basically get into
like, I believe you.
I believe you. No,
you are not lying to me. You are not qualified to discuss.
So for me, I got a chance to play with a little bit different audio this week. SoundCore.
Heck yeah, you did.
So SoundCore was really, really generous, and they sent me. So they were coming out with a new line, almost like a rebranding of their line. They're going with the SoundCore space. I got a chance to play with a couple of really, really good. Basically, they're obviously wireless. This is the biggest thing, but one of them is also wired. So you get the Q45s. This is their Q series, the upgrade to the Q35s that we had late last year, I think I want to say. And of course, we also have the Space A40, which is new. I think the A series is new. Small form factor, lot of good thing going on. Obviously, they definitely focused more on bass heavy experience. This is SoundCore. I'm not going to try to make it sound like it's an audiophile solution, but I love the fact that both of them support LDAC and more control is into the audio experience than I've seen in the past when it comes to ANC, but also call quality, especially when it comes down to the Q45s. Like they're a little bit more, but this is like about $150 and about $99. So this is, the under $100 experience. Absolutely, really happy with what they're offering. The Q45's amazing audio. Also, I loved using them with my Onyx because not the Onyx, sorry, with the Bolt, because connecting them directly got me better audio, but it didn't necessarily drive them the way I wanted them to be. But it was still a better experience if you don't want to use any power. Uh, Great solution, great option available. They became available today, so I've been playing with them for about a couple weeks now, and the packaging was really nice. I love unboxing when it actually is an actual unboxing. You know what I mean? Like when there's actual packaging,
like a presentation and
yeah, there's a presentation
and some
going on a little bit more.
accessories.
Yeah, not like just let me unbox this, and then all you do is basically shake it, open it up, and you're like, look, it buds and ear tips and so on. I love the fact that, like I said, the biggest thing for me was the fact that they both support multi-point, they both support LDAC, and they both have 50-hour lifespan. So the batteries on these things are crazy, 500 milliampere and 50 on the buds themselves. And they literally, it took me about a week and a half for me to even be able to get them to recharge, even on the Q45s, because I won't deny the fact that I used the Q45s a little bit more. I like over the ear that personal experience because it isolates the ears a little bit more than I feel like on in-ear, because the tips I would have wished they had in here was more of the not the silicone kit tips that we typically get with earbuds. I want to get more of the foam ones, the one that actually you have to squish, put them in, and then it just fills up. And
I was real happy.
Conforms.
Again, if you like Beyerdynamic, you might want to try those Freebirds, because the ear tips that come with those are those nice squishy foams. So
so for me, I got a chance. Sorry. This is something else. So I got a Noble Falcon ANC. I don't know if you've heard. I'm assuming you know the brand. So I won these by being in one of Qualcomm's spaces on Twitter one day. I was on and they were like listening. So I jumped in and I was listening to them. I didn't even have to do anything other than just being in there. And then lo and behold, I won it. It took them a little bit to get to me, but so these use those type of foam tips. Very nice, very concise. I like the controls on these things. I don't like the case. The case is way awkward. It does not.
It's almost a perfect cube.
Yeah, it is. It's literally. It's like I'm like, but why so much space? Like it's good, but I've gotten so used to smaller form factor. But like this is like seriously. But they do sound great. They do have a lot of good controls. I love the app. And of course, obviously, it supports aptX Adaptive on there as well, which is I think the biggest thing. The reason why these are the ones that they're giving out. So. But yeah, so going back kind of to SoundCore, the A40 and then the Q45s, very nice. I chose to put the video to combine them together. I didn't feel like it would have been, if I had posted two videos at the same time during the same day, it's a little bit hard.
It's tough. I mean, I did the same thing with Beyerdynamic. I did a mic and a headphone at the same time because it's like you're launching multiple products on the same day, and
it's a tough one. Yeah,
do multiple videos like that.
It just doesn't. Well, I mean, we already have enough of a hard time with an uphill battle with the algorithm to try to throw two videos, and they'll be like, "Well, wait a minute, what are you trying to do, buddy?" No. So, long story short, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, that video dropped this morning. But I've had some time to play with with them for some time, so I'm enjoying them very nicely. They fit into the SoundCore experience. If you've used SoundCore by Anchor,
got some good rumble.
Absolutely, man. No, dude, seriously, really nice. The ANC is very nice. It's also tunable that you can actually tune, and they have an adaptive ANC. But the really nice things on the Q45s, you have also an adaptive pass-through mode, which enables you to actually reduce the audio and give you better microphone experience. So the Q45s are definitely a big upgrade, not necessarily on the hardware, but mostly specifically on the software on there, as well as the fact that they're using something very new here with the oh man, I keep forgetting how they actually worded it. So the double layer diaphragm drivers. I haven't seen this before, so I couldn't really explain it well, but they sound great. Honestly, for me they sound great, and I do end up tuning a little bit the audio outside of their EQ. So I take a preset and I change it and I save it as my own. So it usually typically works really nice for me. So I like this. Yeah. So I saw Jeff dropping the A40 as well.
Oh yeah.
So Jeff got them. Of course, Jeff would have.
Of course, Jeff. Yeah, I would highly recommend people go and check not just your video, but also
Oh,
Jeff's.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, no.
I'm way behind. So I mean, I've got the laptop hub to cover. I have maybe something else that I can't talk about just yet. And so I'm looking at the sound cores like I'm gonna probably buy them at some point. I don't know when I'm really gonna be able to just sit down and listen to them though. And I just recently spent that time with the SoundCore boombox,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
giant Bluetooth speaker, and you're like, man, this is such good
So
rumble
I haven't yet
stuff.
gotten my hands on some of their bigger solutions. I've done we did the frames, I think was it last year. We did I mean it's been mostly basically the Q series and the A series or even the
Hmm.
Life series. Like
Yeah.
for me I like Soundcore's audio. I honestly really do, and I appreciate
It's
their focus and their
really
message.
punchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits for me. I'm an EDM head 90% of the time. If I'm exercising and doing whatever, I'm going to be playing some really heavy, happy hardcore trance, any kind of bass bangers, anything like that that just drives me to just go do shit. Like
Yeah.
just that
I need to
sound.
get up and go.
Absolutely, yeah. You can't listen to that and you're like, this sounds really good. No, you're like, let's go, let's go. So yeah,
See, and Michael Peppertech, this is exactly, I mean, like from TK and I's perspective, it's not
yeah,
so much audio is the most personal wearable technology someone can invest in. So when I'm sharing my experiences, you have to know I am uh, what now? Well, I started when I was 20. So I'm now 22 years into recording, and my experiences were very practical with
mhm,
microphones and studio monitors. That's kind of how I was taught audio, the language of audio.
yeah,
I have very asymmetrical ears. My right ear is significantly more damaged than my left ear, and I prefer highlights and articulation in the mids because I spent most of my time recording human speech. So the human instrument used at its lowest
mhm,
power level, not singers, but
mhm,
people talking, that is a much different style of recording. So when I start listening to music, what I appreciate is articulation in the mids. I love hearing strings, pluck, guitar distortion, stuff that really informs the differences in the spatial areas of a track. Once you know that about me, you start to then understand why I gravitate towards specific audio products, and your listening styles will be fundamentally different than mine because you haven't spent the last 20 years listening to people whisper into microphones. So that what you're describing right there, Michael Peppertech writes, I'm working on my Buds 2 Pro bullet points and thoughts, and being someone who doesn't do a ton of audio coverage, it's fun. It's the exploration. I mean, we sell these things to people and we just sort of tell them, yeah, these are the gooder earbuds. And you're like, there's no thought into what that person might like to listen to, how they might like to listen, where they might like to listen,
that's
what
true.
their
Yeah.
favorite genres of music are, what hearing damage have they, I mean, because we all have.
Oh
We
no,
all
absolutely.
were dumb enough to go to clubs and stand in front of subwoofers. We all have issues with hearing, and if you don't find an audio solution that fits the things you like and the things that are sort of detrimental to your hearing, then you don't really get the right solution. So when you're writing up those notes, I mean, like there's so much, it's so meaty, and I find it very upsetting how often you get through like a headphone review and someone's like, yeah, they're pretty good, and like the battery life is great, and I love all these features, and look at this software, and look at this like assistant integration, and you can multi-point, and you're like, but they're headphones. Like, can you discuss with any experience? Did you just like the sound? Yeah, I mean, like the bass was good. Okay, fine. I'm gonna smash my head against the wall, then go turn on Jeff's channel, then fire up some game ski, some super audio reviews. I need to talk to someone else.
No, no, absolutely. I think the biggest thing with the Buds 2 Pros as well is I think mostly because Samsung's trying to play with their new codec that only works on Samsung devices. So you kind of also need to understand and appreciate that, when you recommend those
Yeah.
devices, you need to kind of also add that as a somewhat of a, oh, by the way, if you're not using them on Samsung, it's kind of like saying LDAC,
Well, I
it
mean,
works great on
TK
Android.
hasn't Samsung earned the default Android recommendation.
It seems that
Didn't
way.
we all read that editorial? Hasn't Samsung spent enough on marketing to finally just be given the automatic win in
you should
everything they
just get
do?
an iPhone or a Samsung. Conversation has been said multiple times.
Well, well, if you're comparing Android devices, it's Samsung has bought their way into being the bestest Android. But then if we compare Apple against Android, obviously Apple's are better than Androids. So we can always move the goalposts even then.
Depending on the narrative that you need. Yeah, no, of course. Always.
What's going to make me the most money on YouTube, TK? I need you to just tell me what I'm doing.
Speaking of Samsung, it's a nice, beautiful segue. Thank you very much,
I knew where we're going with that, and I still managed to be a snarky butt.
It's okay. It's Thursday night, man. Let's enjoy the snarkiness at the level that it comes in. But
I really should have cracked a beer for this one. I really like.
It's that type of night. Okay. You're more than welcome to go and grab it if you'd like. I'll go
just scurry off.
No, because you're on Bluetooth, man. We can listen to you the whole time. It's like, hey, you remember? I think we did that one time, didn't you? You went down to the stairs.
So unfortunately, Bluetooth on my Windows workstation, total crap. Couldn't hear anything you were saying, but
we could hear you. That was the
road.
Yeah.
I could keep harassing you. Just no idea of what you were saying about me while I was gone. No, but sorry. The transition being because we were just mentioning sort of our predilections towards Samsung commentary, but there are things in Samsung land to discuss.
There are things in Samsung land. Like number one thing for me, at least, is I was able to finally get back on RCS. Happy Thursday, everybody. My long battle with. So it's been a continuous one thing after another kind of thing going on with the S22 Ultra for me. And I don't know if it's maybe my unit or maybe just, the T-Mobile experience that comes with this device. But yeah, after like a couple of weeks ago, and Juan and I obviously went back and forth with this because he was helping me test it out. I lost access to the RCS on my device. It would just not work at all. Doesn't matter what I was doing. I can't uninstall it. I tried ADB, disabling it or uninstalling it through ADB, but it doesn't really uninstall it. It just makes it hidden. Long story short, the Fold 4 finally got delivered, and I did not go with any carrier version of this one. I decided to go straight with an unlocked, and this one did fix my problem. I got it on Monday, been playing with it, pushed out, I think, like one video on it. But I have some thoughts on the differences in the things that Samsung's doing with One UI 4.1, because it seems like they're changing things that we've been used to seeing with generational. Like the Fold 3 still has the 4.0, and you could see like enhanced processing is still in there. The governor or the profile management that they're doing for performance on this device is a little bit different, especially when we have a more powerful SoC. I'm still, and we're not even running latest August month and security patch update. We are still on July, so there's things in there. It's what I know.
You're still on July. So whenever Samsung is first to an update, all I can hear is how that's the correct way to do it. But there are other phones that have August security patches. So I guess that means you have to throw away your Samsungs now.
So foldables for me, at least within the last two generations of foldable for the 2 and 3, they don't update them every month. It's like every other or maybe every 3 months.
That's not correct.
It's a weird relationship. Their flagship S series, they do, but at the $1,800 mark, I guess they feel like they need
blowing my mind right now, because I thought Samsung was the bestest at software.
And I'm sure if you talk to them, that's the bestest way to get it to my device every
other
month.
How could they be hurting their customers like that? Because what if there's a security threat that happened in August
that did not get
that wasn't updated because you're on July?
Oh man,
I don't understand how anyone could use something that old. That's just the worst.
The biggest thing for me though, getting the Fold 4 was more. I wanted to kind of see what with the new camera experience has been. Obviously, the horsepower with the technology. Not a lot of differences realistically hardware wise. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter. A lot of little subtle things. The Flip 4 definitely had more work done on it because of the battery expansion and different things going on.
For sure.
But honestly, going from the 3 to 4 is it's a little bit of a, obviously it should not do that. Do not do what I'm doing. It's more for me because I need to get my hands on it and start creating content and stuff like that. it hasn't been. I'll say this: Samsung still doesn't like us using third-party launchers. That's not going to change. I don't know if that's going to change on One UI 5, but at least on 4 and 4.1, anytime you install like Nova Prime or whatever, and I personally like Nova Prime. I do not like Samsung's One UI overall interface. I like to have my customization. So I brought in Nova and I installed it. And then right out of the box, we lose some features, obviously, that are unique to Samsung, like the bottom dock. I can't use that because it's not part of what I have. But it's that for some reason, it takes longer to load. Like if I swipe from and open up my home screen and I unlock the phone, there is literally like a 2 or 3 second, and I can almost replicate it for you. Here, so let's do this. And sorry, I got to dust the phone.
We're doing it live. I love it.
Okay, so here, the phone is locked, and then it's gonna be. Sorry, let's do this. So here, the phone is locked. Let's do this. Okay, so I'm gonna unlock it with my fingerprint. Oops, sorry. Here, lock, and of course now it loaded. Okay, so this one was not a good example. Hold on, let's close it because it happens usually for me when I unlock it on the lock screen. Okay, so here, now I'm gonna open it up on the inside.
Okay.
That's how.
I see what you mean. It's got to like redraw everything.
Everything, and so and let's say I take it to the front screen. Oops, sorry. Now, as I'm enjoying the wallpaper,
kind of animating that in.
But it's been driving me crazy since Monday. Like it shouldn't be doing this. There is no reason for
something that powerful to need to
12 gigs of RAM. Okay, 12 gigs of RAM, regardless of how much storage I have. But UFS 3.1, it's not a storage issue. It's not a RAM issue. The 8 Plus Gen 1 latest SoC running
that is a Samsung optimization issue where they are likely doing custom things in code for how this UI needs to function, which is to the detriment of third-party launchers.
Absolutely. And they haven't been friendly to third-party launchers. And because this is the same thing I've done with even my other devices. It's been where like let's say I want to open up the Recents app. It almost never works on Samsung if you're running a third-party launcher. You have to open up an app and then try to do the Recent because there's a conflict between Samsung Pay and of course the rest of the UI. But this latest issue with me, with the reason why I was saying it's running July, because I was hoping maybe they would fix this issue as a separate update. There should not be an issue or no reason why my Z Fold 3 running, Nova Prime launches instantaneously with the 888, but then, with the 8 Plus Gen 1, and it's not really the 8 Plus Gen 1, it's Samsung. It's really Samsung's optimizations. Something in either the One UI interface that still runs on the system is just requiring it to redraw the entire thing. So the wallpaper loads, and I'm enjoying looking at my wallpaper, waiting that 1 to 2 seconds for my apps to draw so that I can know it and click and launch something. So little things. But I mean, I'm glad I'm back on regular messaging with One UI and not the One UI.
I know. It was great getting RCS from you again. It was like, hey, cool, this is working.
It's like, what? I still have, no. Well, because I really appreciated having, secure messaging. I don't like being on SMS unless I have to.
Sure.
And it was hindering the rest of my family because when I couldn't be on RCS, I had to disable RCS on both my wife and my son's phone so that they didn't try to, because the system on their side, for some reason, even though I send them text, still recognized my number as RCS because technically it's a service thing with T-Mobile. So they would send messages and they would just never get delivered. And you and I missed I missed a couple of your messages because you would send them and your system still thinks it's RCS and never defaults to go back to SMS. And I'm just like sitting here waiting. Like, why is Juan not talking? Why is he not talking to me for the last couple of days?
What you did, TK. You know what you did.
Dude, I said I'm sorry, man. I said I'm sorry like 1,000 times. We're going to keep doing this every night? Man, come on. Gosh.
Apparently, we do need to keep doing this.
Yeah, man. Like, dude, seriously, dude. It was that one time, man.
Sorry. So I appreciate that there is a North American conversation about foldables, which is almost exclusively dominated by Samsung products.
It is. And no Motorola's like, see ya.
Yeah. I mean, you can still buy an old Moto Razr.
Absolutely.
On their website. But
I know, but
it's difficult because on the one hand, I appreciate that there are comments out there like, hey, I'm going to talk to people about the phones that they can actually buy. And then there are other people, I mean, literally in our chat right now are people that have like zero issues like importing a phone if it's the phone they want to buy. So I don't necessarily see that as too much of a deal breaker, but I also don't have anyone in my circles of family and friends that are so into tech that they need to have a foldable, but are so average consumer that they can only buy a solution from their carrier store. Like, I don't know who that person is. So when I'm looking at something like the Fold 4 and I'm seeing progress, like, again, this is another iteration on the same idea.
Yeah.
That Samsung has been refining since the Fold 1. I'm appreciative of the fact that what I see is refinement, and I think this is a better device than the previous generation and the generation before. I'm still left concerned because, and I don't want to sound like a hack editorial here, but I'm still not sure what Samsung is trying to position the Fold to be. If it's an expensive premium device, okay, well, we've got the extra screen real estate. That can be helpful.
Yeah.
But then I get immediately concerned that I am not allowed to bump up the processing power in the battery settings to maximize a short workload.
It's
those kinds of decisions that really leave me confused on what is Samsung trying to accomplish when there are other international foldables that are going to live in China for a while that I think are doing more daring things with hardware and more interesting things with cameras, are utilizing this 8 Plus Gen 1 to a much higher degree than what Samsung is letting us do on a foldable that's going to be more expensive. Because that Xiaomi is coming in a couple $100 cheaper when you really kind of try and account for all of the exchange rate and shipping and all those conversions and stuff.
No, it's very. It's tough being stuck in a monopoly because it is a monopoly where it is right now. The Fold and the Flip are pretty much the only foldables we have in the U.S. market, right?
Yeah.
OnePlus has not made any statements into possibly bringing in the N series, the Fold, the Oppo.
That would be their
foldable,
entry point.
Find
is
N.
calling it a OnePlus. Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. We need to accept this as a statement in the U.S. OnePlus is an Oppo. This is how Oppo is able to come into the U.S. market now. It's through OnePlus. So if they were to launch their device internationally, it behooves them to do it either on their label or put it under a OnePlus label. The concern that I'm having right now is it's more of the competition. The reason why the Fold 4 is the way it is today is because of the lack of competition. It's because of that the Honor V, the foldable, the Xiaomi foldable, the Oppo foldable, and all the other markets, or even the Huawei devices, the Mate series, right? The Mate X, they don't exist in our market. So Samsung doesn't have a need to push the envelope. I appreciate what they did. Don't get me wrong. You could barely tell the difference in weight because once you put a case on it, it doesn't really matter. That changes the weight factor, and it's hard to tell the difference between the two. But it is slightly larger in the sense of the display on the front. The camera sensor is a little bit better. We're up to a 50 megapixel primary shooter. So
what size is it? Do you know what camera sensor it is? Because everyone keeps saying like, oh, but the 108 megapixels. Do you even use 108 megapixels? And you're like, you moron. The Note 22 camera sensor is incredible, not because it's 108 megapixels. It's incredible because it's a 1/1.3 inch sensor with phenomenal depth of field, incredible dynamic range, and amazing HDR processing. The Note 22 camera is a beast because it's a bigger sensor, not because of all the megapixels. So you'll pardon. Do you know what's on the Fold 4? Is it the 1/1.5?
Give me 1 second. I think I have it. I saw it somewhere, and I can't remember the exact size of the 50. It's definitely noticeably better than what we've seen. I mean, just visually, the quality of the images when I put them.
Oh no,
compared
I'm
next to
sure
each
the
other.
Fold 4 is a step up from the Fold 3. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
that
just trying
again,
to
like I said, like
find.
there's so much of this that's progress. But when I see people, again, this is the same problem I had with the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. You had a
Yeah.
bunch of tech reviewers out there saying, well, because of the image processing, there's no difference. And you're like, then you have to be blind. Then you really have to not be looking at the photo output of the different sizes of camera sensors and what they can accomplish, the pixel level detail, the dynamic range. There are reasons why we climb up to larger sensors. And so I'm sure the Fold 4 is a step up, but I'm getting
It's
really
f
bristly.
over 1.8 aperture at a 1 micron pixel size.
1 micron at 50 million pixels.
So here, let me share. This is off of
So
Phone Arena's website.
So then I think that should be a 1/1.5, somewhere in that territory.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we should be pretty close. Where are we at? Is that like iPhone 13 Pro territory? That shouldn't be too bad.
So here we are. So I don't know if you could see it right there. I'll highlight the center. So this one, it says it's an f1.8 right there.
Oh, I mean, the aperture, sure.
Yeah. Oh no, wait.
What
comes with it? Oh no, wait, my mistake. That's actually the older one. Yeah, dang it. Why was I reading it? So for the context, the Z Fold 3 came with a 12 megapixel with f1 over 1, and then, but it doesn't actually say. Okay, on a notable difference, the previous model is a larger.
Oh, Javier's saying it's 1/1.57, so that would be. That makes sense to me. Like, I think that sounds correct.
Yeah, sorry,
Which means it's demonstrably smaller than the standard, like the Note.
The best. Oh no, absolutely. This is not a. So here's the thing. Although I switched my SIM card over from the Note 22 Ultra or the S22 Ultra over to the Z Fold 4. I'm going to be very, very frank. The only reason I felt comfortable doing that is because I have an X70 Pro Plus with me. It's because I don't really need the cameras on the. You know what I mean? Like this is the biggest thing that I have that I always kind of
that like Samsung GN1 is so stupid. Dude, good.
When you jump into the X70 Pro Plus, because I was talking like some friends, it's like seriously, because I have that type of camera performance prowess. I don't really care. I mean, for the Fold, I'll be very honest. I mean, my SIM card will be in there maybe another month or so or whatever. But at some point or another, I'm going to be switching it again. I don't see myself stuck with a Fold all the time. I like the Find N, but I don't put my SIM card in it all the time because I like to consume content with it. It's not. I don't feel like it's because of the thickness of the phone. And the sheer size of it. And with a case, I mean, if you're running it without a case, obviously it's a much thinner phone. It's not that much thicker than a standard phone, but nobody really runs these things without a case. Easily breakable, and of course, you have to put protection on it. So, I'm appreciating what they've done. I like the fact that the cameras are better than what we had before. Not to the Note 22 Ultra, but better. Actually, I take that back. The single camera performance. This is a phone that you basically now, if I'm recommending it, I will say you need to live in that sensor because that's the sensor that's going to give you the best experience on this phone. And it's hard to say that on about a $1,200 or an $1,800 phone. You know what I mean? Like you're saying $1,800. I understand that a hinge will automatically add a price upper, but they didn't reinvent the hinge. This is 2 years of producing the same.
Looks like the same crease.
Yeah, same crease. They supposedly improved the not the performance, but the material on the screen protector so that it doesn't peel. Some people were having it. I didn't have that issue with my Fold 3. But the story is, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's a lot about the same story. It's very much feels like a continuation of the Fold 3. If you have a 3, this is absolutely not the game for you. If you have a 2 or if you have a 1, well, 1 for sure, but with the 2, it's also kind of a rough, depending on how your device is held up.
I think this would be a really, because again, I very much appreciate the engineering that goes into the Fold. It is not the device for me. No, I think right now would be a great time to try and get your hands on a Fold 2.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you would probably also, I mean, again, this isn't the best refined version of this idea, but you could probably get it for a lot cheaper, and you would likely end up with better battery life.
Dude, the Fold 3 is $800. you're able to pick up a Fold 3 for about $800 used in
Yeah,
good
but the Fold
condition.
3 battery life is real bad. And the
We
Fold 2 battery life was better.
The Fold 4 is the same battery as the Fold 3, but I will say it's been able to hang with me for
Oh,
about
to me,
most of my day.
it's not necessarily the battery capacity as much as it is the SoC.
I was going to say,
I
yeah,
think
the 8 Plus
I think
Gen 1
the idea
definitely
works better on an 865 than it does on
on an
any
8,
of the
8.
big core
Yeah.
CPUs.
No, I'm with you.
So
And the crease off obviously is still there. It still has the same, aesthetics. Still don't have S Pen control on the front panel. I don't know why. And the front panel is still logged at 60 frames. I mean,
that's
can you
lame.
even? I don't even think I can function at 60 frames. But it's more
No,
about,
it's
for
gross.
me, you're selling cases that support S Pen. You're building this ecosystem about trying to give us S Pen functionality. You're limiting it to the internal display, which is, for me, some weird mechanism. You have the technology, you're charging enough for this phone. Why is it hard for us to get a Wacom based display on the front, even if you don't give us more than 60 frames, but give us the functionality of the S Pen? The case that they sold has an S, or not, I think Spigen has one. There's an S Pen on the right side. Pull it out, use it, put it back in, and not necessarily open the display, the main device.
Yeah.
So for me, little things like that would have made the Fold 4 a much easier sell, because I would have been like, well, now you have access to the S Pen everywhere, and you have it's a slightly
Yeah.
larger display overall, but the I mean, I upgraded. There's going to be more things coming up with it. I'm working on putting a Z Fold 3 versus Z Fold 4 video, because I need to I need to not return. I need to trade in my Z Fold 3. As you can imagine, I'm trading that in to get the Z Fold 4. So I have a very short amount of time left before my
Kind of compare
trade
all
in.
that stuff.
Well, plus I'm out of town next week, so I can't. I'm going to lose 7 days or so of time being able to create content with both devices. I'm not going to travel with both folds. I'm not. I mean, I'm cool, but I'm not like that cool. Foldable, foldable guy. So initial impressions of it, it's a work in progress. It's sad to say, as a typical Samsung device, it sometimes comes out. It needs a couple of updates. I feel like one update at least for sure, helping the UI elements redraw faster, fully utilize, and maybe even bring back the enhanced processing. The profiles that we have right now are a little bit confusing, because there's standard and then there's power efficient. And supposedly, and so after you and I talked a couple of days ago, we were talking about the performance and so on. When I recharged my battery to 100%, the standard profile started performing more as the performance mode, which was meant that the 8 Plus Gen 1 was running at full potential. But they have that as the standard default now. They no longer try to play that game where they throttle you and then they tell you have a button to push. So I don't know what game Samsung's trying to play ever since they got caught, messing around with benchmarks and so on. But I think that's what they're trying to do. And I don't like, I mean, I kind of liked it being throttled and knowing that I could push a button to get the full potential when I need it, as opposed to having to switch between standard and power saving. I don't know why I have to jump there.
I
Hey, Jeff, how
am
you
gonna
doing, man?
be El Jefe Reviews jumping in the chat. We were already talking about audio gear, and we
We're
had a lot of nice
absolutely.
things to say about your channel, Jeff.
Oh, nice. Yeah, absolutely.
The the concern that I've got, and again,
Mhm.
I feel like Samsung might actually just be victims of their own timing on the various products that they're trying to put out right now. The 8 Plus Gen 1, it's still an 8 Gen 1.
Oh, absolutely.
The fundamental concept of massive CPU core, 3 big cores, 4 little cores, I still think we need some refining to kind of make this more consumer workable. But I don't care about consumer workable on $1,000 plus devices. I care about laptop grade performance, and that's what 8 Gen 1 can deliver. But I find it frustrating that we've got 8 Gen 1 on the Note 22, and then we've got 8 Plus Gen 1, which actually does realize some significant power efficiency over the 8 Gen 1.
Absolutely.
And Samsung won't let us really open that up in a way that makes sense. Like if I want to take off the limiter and I want to go balls to the wall and I want to nuke my phone battery, I'm so happy I have that Moto back. That thing runs hot. That thing is crazy, but it doesn't slow down for anything, and it will do exactly what I tell it to do. And you can go and buy that phone on a fire sale right now for $499 with 512 gigs of storage, active pen stylus support, the best desktop mode on any phone available. It's insane what that thing can do. But it will, it's not going to sit there and hold your hand. If you tell it to, it will destroy its battery trying to please you. That's what I want.
You could see the percentages literally in the ass, like
it nukes. Yeah. And again, really fire up, ready for do some heavy lifting work on it. It will.
Red Magic.
It will crank.
I got that like a few months back when I was playing. I had it connected to the external fan, running it in basically with the internal fan running, and trying to basically play Undead Horde at 120 frames per second, and I could see the battery drop. I'm like, crap, I won't finish my game. No, it's one of those.
And I'm not saying like Samsung, but I'm not saying Samsung should make the Fold do that out of the box. No one is under. I mean, that's not how the Moto works out of the box. No one is under the illusion that people are going to pick up this phone as a status symbol out of the box. It should be more manageable, but that there's not a button I can push to say, give me the go juice so I can get my work done.
That bugged me.
Really bothers me.
It's
on a $2,000 folding
It's a profile. It's a control thing because of what's been going on with them. And I'm hoping at some point we'll have maybe third-party apps that allow us to run better. Because I think there is profile management. They're running multiple profiles. So it's not like they're not trying to run the governor to allow us to run two different things. But yeah, I like that case. Oh my God, that color is really nice. Yeah, I missed the Moto. I really missed the Moto. I haven't. Moto just launched actually a new phone this week, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which a whole bunch of content creators putting. I think Joshua Vergara was doing a live stream earlier, like yesterday, about it. But so the long story is, for me at least at this point, it's still a work in progress. Kind of a little bit like how I had it with the Nothing phone. I feel like the Nothing phone is a massive work in progress, and we are along for the ride. As long as you understand that and you appreciate that and you're okay with waiting for things to get better, I don't think it's a bad decision. I think you're able to get yourself a pretty good experience that will get better over time. I'm hoping that Carl Pei and the company sticks the landing with the 3 OS updates. That's a tall order on a $400 or £400 phone.
It's a lot of support. You got to pay for it.
And I don't know where this is. Like I said, this is like when obviously Android, it was released with 12, 13 is out. There's conversations now talking about the fact it's not going to see Android 13 until probably early next year. Honestly, I don't really see a big reason why you'd be in a rush to get it in there. I know the conversation is, well, they're running so stock, they're not running so much customization. Why is it so hard to get it on there? And why is it? The conversation ends up becoming, like why are we not getting them on day one? At the end of the day, you paid £400 for the phone. You're not paying $800 to $1,000. Their support, their development, they may be running a very small dev team. Also, they only have one phone right now, so they're not really building the OnePlus support or the other company. So you have to understand. And again, I hope that they land the
it's tricky because we want to keep expectations in check.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can definitely appreciate sort of both sides of that. Like, new update just came out from Google. How come I don't have it in a reasonable time frame? And my reasonable time frame is 36 hours after all the Pixels update.
Yeah.
I get it. I feel the transitions from Android 10 to 11 to 12 have put me in a more conservative place where I don't want the big updates on day one. I want the big updates after the company has taken enough time to properly refine them.
Properly test the upgrade, especially upgrading the devices, not just the new devices coming out. I think that's the biggest.
Well, especially for the older devices.
Exactly.
They're so much more vulnerable. Completely agree. So, I mean, I can appreciate, like I was making fun of Samsung earlier in the thing, even my Duo and my Duo 2 have the August security patch. So Samsung must hate their customers and Microsoft is the winner.
Yeah.
But in managing these transitions and in looking at what these expectations should be, I still feel like the biggest problem that we have is the gamesmanship of talking about one hyper-specific data point or metric as the winner for a popular brand, and then not giving another brand the same kind of consideration. Look at the kind of conversation we're having about Samsung, and we've got some Fold 4 owners here. You know, the irony of the name.
He caught me. I saw that, Michael. Like, oh my God. Touche, my friend. Touche. Right on the point there.
So I've been in a few other live streams over the last week, and literally like 3 today. And I don't know what it is, but we've got all the patience in the world, and we make all the assumptions for Samsung, and they're going to be putting out some updates. Even what you were saying, like, I hope Samsung is going to do this. I hope that we see this kind of refinement. It's a work in progress. We've got all the patience and understanding. And then we bring up, like, well, how come this brand new phone company doesn't have Android 13 out on their only phone? How come the update's not here yet? And you can see we've now suddenly lost all that chill. We've suddenly lost all that patience. We no longer give the same consideration.
Absolutely.
Same thing. We were joking about it last week, but apparently every problem on the Pixel 6a must be perfectly fixed now, because I don't see these major YouTubers who were complaining about fingerprint sensors and 60 hertz. Now that the phone's on Android 13 and it's running better than it did before launch, when they put out their hack reviews, which you should never call something a review weeks before the product is actually shipped to consumers, I can only assume, well, the product must be perfect now, because I don't hear the doom and gloom and the sky is falling and all those people complaining about stuff. What's going on? So again, we've got all of this patience, we've got all this chill, we've got all of this runway and expectation, and Samsung's going to fix it, and they're going to fix it, and they're going to fix it, even for things that they might not be able to fix. You can't fix the Galaxy S22 with software. That's not a software problem. And then every other company is held to a standard of perfection in pre-release. And that's where I've got to get real spiky. I would love to not be this bitter about my own personal experiences with Samsung and how awful their PR has been to a number of the outlets that I've worked with, and to myself personally. You will always have a Samsung review filtered through how miserable that company is to work with. But I would love to be more patient and considerate. But if I hold Samsung to the same standard that every other reviewer holds OnePlus, Motorola, Google in the Pixel, Vivo and Xiaomi, then Samsung fails harder than any of those other brands, while they make the boldest claims, and we should have the highest expectations for them being the single biggest brand in Android space. That to me is where I have that disconnect. I want to like the Fold 4 more for what it is a funky hinged experiment, but I can't if this is the kind of conversation. Like, I can't give any inch to that Samsung special consideration that no other company gets.
Yeah, and this is the thing for me. I don't like to give accommodation for one over the other. I truly believe, I mean, this is true to almost every brand. No device at launch comes out 100%. No device at launch is able to do everything they say that it's going to do. The things that Nothing Phone put out in their pre-briefing did not all materialize. It's coming. There are more things coming in. But we need to be able to give the same accommodation. And this is why I titled my video a work in progress. It is a work in progress, and you need to accept that that's what it is. And if you get into it, then you understand what you're getting. Don't go into it with the, this is the best of the best of the best, and then be disappointed if things are not working. The things that I'm seeing on the Fold 4 for me are typical things that I've seen from Samsung before. They don't like us having third-party launchers, and they're making it harder. It's been showing. This isn't new. So I'm not bringing in new statements there, but I always try to keep it consistent in the look. What you're looking at, and especially when I made the video about the 6A, I spoke about it exactly. This was a pre-release software. We're running the April 1st security patch update. This is not even running latest and greatest. So the concerns that we have, and this is before I even knew Android 13 was going to be coming out on this, like in literally a week and a half later.
What a big surprise that was. I mean, again, surprise, I looked so good in my Pixel 6a review because I like I said in the video, I did the video for reviews.org.
Reviews.org, yeah.
And I said, so I got impatient and I loaded the Android 13 beta during my review period and blah, 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 blah. But, from the time that I put out this review, you will not be buying the phone in this state soon. We know Android 13 is right around the corner. And then it was like literally a week later. Because I was just saying, like, well, you'll get Android 13 like in September, October. But it was like literally, it was like I had predicted the week before that we were going to be getting the Android 13. I just looked really clever.
You did it on
that
point,
video.
man. I love it when you're able to read the tarot cards and like, yeah, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about that. But just to kind of also reiterate, Aditya has a perfect phone. You're right, TK. TK, don't forget, iPhones do come out perfect. As always, that was my fault. I do apologize for everybody's, just to make sure you guys are understanding. Yes, they do come out perfect. Everything and anything that is announced at launch is available on the phone months and months later, not available at day one.
Yeah,
but,
Tech Odyssey Deep Fusion was amazing at launch.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, Adam.
Like, the filmic support for multi-camera was amazing at launch.
It was absolutely amazing.
That was always totally perfect.
I love
this
iPad
feature, which is...
It's in their launch though. Remember, like they'll make announcements and a whole bunch of stuff. Coming later. Yeah. I'm like, what? Okay,
so what's coming now? And could be 8 months later. You don't know.
The term later is so, like, yeah.
What was it? The iPhone 11 took what? It took almost 7 months to get the phone that they announced at launch.
Yeah, you got the hardware. You're right. The hardware was there, but the software and what you were supposed to be able to do with that hardware.
When I pick up a Pixel, I sound like I'm really fair and unbiased when I say things like, but you've got to review the phone and talk about the phone for what it can do today. Yeah. You shouldn't be buying phones for the promise of what they might be able to do later, unless it's an iPhone review. And then it's totally fine to be like, I don't know. You'll get these magical camera features someday. Buy the phone now, because someday you'll get this amazingly cool stuff. But on a Pixel, I got to keep it a buck. But on a Samsung, we know they'll put out good software, so buy the phone and hope for the updates. But on a Pixel, no. You can only be reviewed in its pre-release state, and that's how the phone will forever exist.
It's always going to be in that status of who do you give a pass and who do you just basically hold the hand of a platform.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry. That was me. That was my bad.
We reached a limit.
I took us down this path. That's on me.
No. So with that kind of going on with the way it is right now, I feel like, and I still don't have my hands on the Flip, by the way. My Flip ended up being delayed for some reason, so I don't get mine till maybe tomorrow, hopefully. The biggest thing for me overall, I would probably say, is the Fold 4 is pretty much a very good example of what the Fold 3 was. Some minor improvements and overall benefiting more from the SoC than...
Okay, sorry. I know you're trying to sum this up, and we're probably kind of gonna need to start wrapping up our podcast here. But but you had some carrier side issues.
There was 22. And that was the reason why I went away from that version.
Sure. But from the experience before you had your meltdown on RCS, I don't understand this tech YouTube debate. Note 22 versus Fold 4, one's more expensive than the other, but what's really the upgrade? You have spent considerably more time with the Note 22. I have some strong feelings about the Note 22, but I'd love to hear from you. Sure. Now that you've been spending some time with the Fold 4, is it a $500 upgrade over a Note 22?
So
how do you feel about Samsung's current sort of hardware focus, performance focus, and price divisions, and especially with this YouTube debate raging?
So I'll start by saying this. The preface to this will be this: the Note 22 Ultra, the S22 Ultra, is not, in my opinion, a competitor to the Fold 4. They're two devices that are parallel products. They're not intended for the same user. The users that want the Note will not be obviously going over to the Fold, because the Fold doesn't replicate the Note. It's not the same. They are the only comparison you're able to draw between the two is the fact that they are a Samsung experience running on similar hardware, one with an 8 Gen 1 and one with an 8 Plus Gen 1. I personally chose to switch my SIM card to put into this device for the next foreseeable future on the Fold, not because I I needed to. It was more because of the issues I was having with the carrier version of the Note 22 Ultra, which, just to be fair, were not an issue till about a month and a half ago when we started getting, remember that we heard all the news, we are getting like 4 to 5 updates in that one month, and then Samsung was trying to patch up whatever they were trying to do.
I know, right?
They messed up some stuff in the background, at least on T-Mobile side. And T-Mobile couldn't figure out how to help me. And the only answer T-Mobile came back with me was reset the phone. And I'm like, that's not the answer. I mean, obviously it is the answer because I could technically do that. But what happened to me after the trip with the family, where my wife had the unlocked Note 20 Ultra, the Note 20 Ultra, connected to the internet, browsing and running all around, and my phone on T-Mobile, we're sitting there twiddling thumbs, no internet. Right. Consistent issues where freezing, lockups, and crashes on my phone. There's something wrong with the software. It drove me crazy. And then the RCS was the final straw because to me, I can live with restarting my phone. I can live with a little bit of hiccup there. I change enough phones. But when I cannot use my phone as a communicating device the way I need to use it, you know what I mean? Like an example, I'm not saying that obviously, you're an example that I'm able to connect with you on multiple levels. But again, I was missing messages from family members, my son, my wife. Those are big, important things. I need to get those messages. That stopped me and made me want to switch. So the Fold is a conduit and will be something that I probably will jump off from to something else. So to answer the question, I know it was a long way of kind of jumping back into it. It's not a $500 upgrade. It's not a competitor to that device. The reason you would get a Fold is because you do want to get that duality of a personality into a device. Small form factor, large form factor, one phone. S Pen is a side hustle. The S22 Ultra is still the best phone that Samsung made in 2022. There's no question there. You want the best camera, you want the best experience. The Note 22 Ultra is the phone to go with. Just don't go with a carrier version. Go straight up with theirs, because it seems like they're able to fix their issues. But you know what I mean. So I wouldn't necessarily, like I said, I don't think that argument makes sense. Somebody comparing those two devices are just trying to draw at straws, because it doesn't make sense. They're not in the same market. No one person that looks for one that likes one would go for the other.
I feel similarly. A part of what holds me up is, again, like we sort of discussed, or like I was rambling earlier on in this episode, is what do I do on a foldable that's different than a slate phone?
Mm-hmm.
And how does the Fold manifest that at a price so much higher, especially for a device like the Note 22, which is so good at driving other displays.
And a large device to start with. Yeah, no, absolutely. You could run multiple
things. And it's not like the Note 22 is a small phone by any standard, but what I mean is, like, there is an argument to be made where a strategic portable touchscreen could replace my use of a Tab S8. And I could just get away with using a Note 22. And that combination would still be, $200 cheaper than
absolutely.
a Fold 4.
The 512 Note S22 Ultra would still be about $300 to $400 cheaper, than the Fold. You're paying the price of the foldable experience, like you said. The hinge.
And I'm looking at the hinge, but this is where I feel like tech YouTube has basically just become a bunch of like fashionista wannabes.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're talking, well, this is the flagship. Is the S series the flagship, or is the Z series the flagship? And you're like, that word has lost all meaning.
Oh, absolutely.
There isn't, like, there is a Z line for a reason. It's not the Galaxy S Fold, it's the Galaxy Z Fold, because it's supposed to represent a completely different market of ideas. And to me, it's still, Z is now their experimental line. I love my Duos. That's a public beta. The Fold, to me, is still a public beta. You're paying for an amazing piece of engineering, but there's nothing mainstream about it.
No. And it's in my entire experience. I'll be very honest. It's since the amount of the years that I've been using foldable devices, I have only seen the Fold twice.
I've seen it once. I've seen one out in
public.
the
Yeah,
wild that wasn't yours.
yeah. It's like, and it wasn't. And when I said I saw it twice, one of them was not you holding it because I know you borrowed it last day. No,
It was a really, really old guy with amazing Italian loafers driving a brand new mid-engine Corvette, and he was rocking a Z Fold 3. That's the only one I've seen out in the wild.
When I went to New York last time for the OnePlus event, I saw a gentleman holding it, and he was basically using it without a case, which drove me crazy. I so wanted to, like, hopefully I find a case or something, just throw it at him, put something to protect it, but he was running it without it. And he was but I mean, overall, as far as the device, it is a very hyper niche experience. The Fold, and it more so the Fold than it is on the Flip. The Flip, I feel like it's gaining more popularity.
But the Flip is way more mainstream.
Absolutely. For sure. The price point is in the right place. I had hoped that they would add some more functionality into it, making it, the fact that it's $1,000.
And in fact, I'm happy that it just didn't get a big old price increase. It got a bigger battery.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm serious. The Flip 4, just like the Flip 3, makes so much more sense to me. In a direct consumer conversation, it makes so much more sense to me than the Fold does. And then we've got this like fake debate. To me, again, it just feels like I needed to make another like Samsung piece of content, and now it's a Samsung versus Samsung. And I can't see any justification for a portable compute platform win for the Fold 4 over a Note 22 if we're just talking about dollar to performance to practicality.
Yeah.
If you tell me you just want to own something cool and you like having a larger surface area on that inner display, I mean, that's great. But the Note 22 is such a truck of a phone, S Pen built into the casing, one of the all-time best camera experiences Samsung has ever created, drives DeX to the same level as one of their tablets, and you can buy so many more accessories to flesh out the Note than you could for the same dollar amount that you would spend on the Fold 4. To me, it's a non-controversy. It's a non-traversy.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly to me that we're still like, oh, this one's the more expensive one. It should be the bestest with everything in the best in it. And you're like, well, that's not what a beta test is. You're paying for the beta test.
You're absolutely. You're paying money to access hardware that is still in to a certain point in development and still a moving target. The biggest thing that kicked me really this year was more about, at CES, Samsung showcased other foldable technologies that they were looking into. I'm talking rollable, trifolds, larger foldable technologies, and so on.
Yeah, for sure.
And none of that is here. None of that. We got the same spiel to a certain point. Like I said, I mean, if you have a Z Fold 3, I'd say stick with it. You're pretty much there. You're literally there. You're not buying the phone for the cameras. You're not buying it because it's the best camera. That's why you buy an Honor V. That's why you would buy a Xiaomi. That's why, with the Leica cameras, you jump into, of course, the 12S Ultra or something.
Now, TK, me being a big time YouTuber, I looked at the 50 megapixels here. I couldn't see any difference when looking at an iPhone. It's
iPhone 13.
It's the processing. It's all the image processing is what makes the photos, the gooder and the same. And so, I mean, I took two just sort of random auto modes. I mean, I really took time to like compose a nice shot for the iPhone, and then I kind of did this with the Android while I was trying to shoot the photo. I couldn't see any difference. I don't see what all the big deal is,
I'm glad you explained it very nicely. I mean, that was very directly to the point. You did the right methodology.
I do technology. I do tech.
I know it drives me. It drives me when people are able to draw a line. But you're right. It sometimes comes down to they need to put together a piece of content that's related to either a popular topic, and it inevitably ends up being a conversation that is predetermined before the video was even shot. Let's just say that. And if it is that,
but I mean, when it's Samsung to Samsung, again, I mean, what frustrates me is Aditya is making a joke like, you've goofed when Juan is out here defending the Note 22. I mean, like, I loved the Note 22. That was a great phone.
There was a reason why my SIM card kept going back to it. but I
Yeah.
have a solution that is better. So I don't have to,
Well,
you know
yeah,
what I
for
mean? Like
services.
when the reality of the matter is I do a lot of mobile content. I do a lot of content on the go now, more so than I did the years before. Ever since CES, when I started this year with the X70 Pro Plus, I mean, heck, man, this device has seriously moved my approach to technology. The the thing for me is you need to appreciate what you have. You need to understand the tool that you have and what you need to use it for. The S22 kept keeping my SIM card because of A, storage, B, flexibility, and the cameras were really good. I shot in 4K 60 all the time. Everything came out
Yeah.
buttery smooth, beautiful, and I'm able to edit and render. And I had that enhanced processing. Oh my god! Okay, so I have another friend of mine that picked up an X80 Pro Plus, not Pro Plus, an X80 Pro. Pro Plus. We're hearing rumors that the Pro Plus is coming out soon, but the thing for me at the end of the day is more about what can I do and what is the tool that I need to use. And ever since I've gotten the X70 Pro Plus back, I've been shooting a lot more with it, but I haven't been running my SIM card in it because I typically don't need it. I just need it for content creation. I don't need the internet on it. It actually simplifies the process for me because it reduces the amount of background processes that can run. And once I cut down the animation to 0.5 on FunTouch, it snappy. Everything just
Yeah.
jump for me. And yeah,
It's a good feel.
no, it is.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. You know what you're going to get. You get comfortable with the piece of tech. You get to, you also know what you can expect. What you're going to be getting out of the cameras from there. And I prefer the X70 Pro Plus even in 2022 over Samsung's technology. Not to say that it's better in all
If I
around.
didn't have the X80 Pro, I would
Yeah,
still have that X70 Pro
I
Plus.
know. Yeah, I know. And I'm so happy that you got the X80 Pro because for that conversation to be had in the way it's going right now.
So I still need to wrap up just a few more things, and then you and
Sure,
me.
yeah.
I mean, not like we've got to do a swap. I just need to get this Xiaomi in your
Yeah.
hands
I
because again, with
I'm
your
waiting for you to
experiences on the X70,
yeah, I would
I
love to
think I
see
think you're
how
really
that
gonna
translate.
like.
Well, because
Yeah,
yeah, I want to see that experience. And then last time we hung out at the Peterson, I'm not gonna lie, I had so many phones on me that I was trying to take
yeah.
trying to shoot pictures and so on that I didn't even I held the phone for maybe a couple minutes, and Juan was shooting the
I
rest of it.
mean,
And
at one point
yeah,
I was like, yeah, go and take it and shoot. I had 4 phones on me, and I would say it was because I got there about 15 minutes before you did.
yeah.
And it only took me about 10 minutes for me to go, no, I'm just going to focus on the Vivo and the Xiaomi. I'm not going to use these other 2 phones at
It
all.
it was
It was
definitely.
pretty immediate. Yeah.
No, you could definitely. We were definitely trying to push our cameras with more low light photography. The lighting at a museum such as the Peterson is challenging for some devices. Not everything is well lit. Depending where you are, like remember when we went into the
Those
McLaren room.
hard museum
Oh,
spotlights. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, with the shifting color lights and displays in the background. So the short answer for me is, um, yes. Although the reason why I'm enjoying right now with the Fold and why I'm actually testing it because I want to see how it lives it with it. I will be traveling with it, which also helps for watching content on the flight. I don't have to bring a tablet with me, but at the end of the day, it's still an odd form factor, right? Like at
Yeah.
the end of the day, when I'm watching movies, you can't get the 16:9 or a close enough of an experience to fill up the display. And if you do, you're cropping so much. Um,
You can only watch the Snyder cut in old, like, 16
it's
millimeter
16:9,
films from, like, the
absolutely. That one, the
1960s.
Fold is made for the Snyder Cut Justice League. That's exactly the
Yeah,
four by
I
three
want to
aspect
say,
ratio. I think there was a few. Yeah.
who is it? The Frankenheimer film Seconds, starring Rock Hudson. It's a very Twilight Zone-y not science fiction, but sort of a thriller.
Mhm.
I think that might be shot 4:3. So if you pick up oh man, see now I'm gonna have to pull that up. Now I'm gonna have to see. It's an incredible film, black and
Okay.
white, beautiful. Sort of great paranoia, anxiety kind of a film. That might be the other
Would it
thing
be
that you can
I was gonna say,
watch.
would it be a good movie to watch on a flight? Do I want to be that paranoid on a flight? It's gonna be a 12-hour, 12. Yeah, no, it is 11 and a half something
Oh
because
man, you could
it's
watch the
going.
movie like 6 times. That
Oh,
would be
I've
amazing.
I'm like trying to. I'm almost tempted to say, hey man, if you're not using your Steam Deck, no, I wouldn't. I no,
You can pry that from my cold dead hands, TK.
yeah, I believe
Hold on, let me see.
I will not even come close. Even when you're we won't even be like he'll be seeing me driving.
Oh no, I was wrong. Seconds is in 16 by 9. Okay, well, never mind. Maybe it was 7 days in May. Anyway, I like old 60s paranoia films. They're really great. So so Frankenheimer is I'm sorry, he's the original Manchurian Candidate. And so he did a trilogy of films: Manchurian Candidate, Seconds, and 7 Days in May. And actually, 7 Days in May is really prescient today because it's about the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Pentagon staging a coup against the government of the United States.
Oh, okay.
Very much like what's happening in the world today, only with the Supreme Court instead of the Pentagon.
No, absolutely.
I digress.
I do want to talk about the film, though, Prey. So last week, so remember, last week, every time you say, we always have this little side thing. So, okay, I'll say this.
I love
last week we talked, we had...
I've seen it 4 times now. I love it.
I've seen it 3 times.
So good.
So after the next morning after you and I had our show and all that stuff, so I watched the movie by myself because I wanted to see, obviously, the level of different things going on. You're right, absolutely. It compared to Predator and Predator 2, it's, I would say, maybe a little bit milder.
It's a great trilogy now.
Oh, absolutely. The storyline of where this
Prey, Predator, and Predator 2.
Absolutely. And
great.
I want to say one question though. Did you catch the little CGI mistake they had in the middle of the video, in the middle of the movie?
Where?
I don't. Okay, so there's a scene where the Predator dismembers a certain part of somebody's hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much saying they dismembered the hand. I don't know how my description is really bad.
That's okay.
So the CGI that they did for the cutoff of the hand worked great till the actor accidentally brought their hand close to their leg, and their AI system
you can see like
catch it. The hand shows
floating.
Back up. Yeah, it shows back up. I was like, oh my god.
Oh my god. So no, I need to see that. I didn't catch that.
It's
okay. I needed an excuse to watch it again. I'm going for Prey for number 5.
When I saw that the first time, so I caught that on the first run, and so when I watched it with Omar again with my wife, I told him, I said, "Did you catch it?" He said, "What? Did you see the hand?" He's like, "Yeah, he just cut it off." I'm like, "No, did you see when he came back?" Did you? He's like, "No." So we rewinded and showed, and he's like, "Yeah, their AI, because they did it on obviously, because it was too close to the body, right? Because they couldn't cut it out of the field and then transpose the background. So yeah.
But that's also kind of the charm of Prey, where it feels like a Predator film, but it feels like it's built on almost like almost a Blumhouse kind of low budget sensibility.
There's
it's so much more focused. It's so much leaner. Yep. And again, a mistake like that doesn't necessarily detract or distract from what the movie is trying to accomplish.
No, absolutely not.
As much as it just sort of reminds us that like this is a Predator film on a shoestring budget, not
very much
on a massive
with some serious like the graphics and the CGI were done very well. Again, when I saw it, no, I mean for where things are. I mean,
the bear was kind of weak.
Yeah, some area. The bear was like, yeah, I know.
The bear is like it could have just been Paddington the way it was so animated. I'm a bear.
But you have to understand though. I mean, when you watch, so if you start off with Predator,
I'm not saying they should have had a guy in a suit fight a real bear. I'm just saying. Yeah. Again, it was charming because you could see they weren't given the same kind of budget that the Predator got, but every nickel of their budget was up on screen to try and make the film look better. And at some point, you can't make a bear photorealistic in CG like that.
And arms will show back up. But what I'm trying to say is...
He regrew his hand so fast
because you could see the facial expression. Supposedly, oh my god, I lost my arm. But yet, I think they are. But the one thing that so here's the thing: the editor missed that part, or it probably that the editor is like, "Oh crap, we have this. Can we go back and shoot it? We spent every single penny. It's just done." keep it in, man. We're good. Keep going, keep going. They'll appreciate the Easter egg. So long story short, I think it was fun. The little bits at the end, a little bit of the storyline or I think storyboarding at the end was also very nice.
So good.
The throwback to Predator 2 was also very nice. So to me, it was fun. Let's just say that it was fun. We enjoyed it. I watched it a couple of times. Omar enjoyed it, and then of course after that we have to rewatch Predator 1 and Predator 2 because you got to kind of go.
Did
in
the same.
Order. Yeah,
same
you
thing.
Have to finish the
Did
order,
it.
right? You have to kind of go in the right order.
I got real bad. Okay. After rewatch number 3
of Prey,
of Prey, I did the same thing. It was like I was trying to bug Marie, like, you really do need to watch the first Predator. Apparently, she has never sat and watched the first Predator.
Vanya
She's
never
only
finished.
seen
she
bits
saw
of
part of it. Yeah, she saw the beginning, and Vanya decided like,
and you're like, I'm trying not to like really like you sort of bother my wife with this one, but she's such a big Die Hard fan. It is foolish not to give another John McTiernan movie a try. And again, you see like the pedigree that goes into the original Predator and how clever that movie was. It is literally the death of the 80s action star on screen by killing a bunch of roided out 80s action actors.
Oh, they were all
like, all she's seen is like Arnold Schwarzenegger, come on, do it. And like that's all she knows of Predator. She doesn't understand.
She made it to that scene. That's almost at the
no.
end.
She's only seen like bits of it, so scenes completely out of context.
So
she hasn't sat through any of it. So she missed like the incredible build-up, the sort of subterfuge, the Carl Weathers character, all of the 80s tropes that then get dismantled literally as the film progresses. She's never experienced how clever this movie really was for it being kind of a schlocky 80s action flick with a sci-fi bent. And so she watched Prey and she loved it. And you're like, if you loved Prey, the original contributes to that story. I don't think I need to push her to see Predator 2, but I got tired of waiting for Marie, so I went and rewatched Predator 1 just because. And well, I finished Predator 1. I should probably just watch Predator 2. And Predator 2, it kind of, it's not as good, but I really like what that movie tries to do for 90s action. And then I finished that. And you know what? The countdown on Hulu is telling me that if I just sit through the credits, it'll take me to Predators. I could just watch Predators. So I watched through Predators. And then I finished that up and you're like, you know what? Maybe I should give The Predator another chance. And I watched that again, and that movie is awful. Oh, man, the movie is so bad. But I watched it again, and now I'm like, you know what? I could go through Prey one more time. Because it's a really good movie.
And I think this is the appeal of the movie. It's to me, it snuck up on me initially with the storyline that it was simple, it was easy, and it's still kind of staying true to the original Predator as far as the continuation. A single enemy coming in, people discovering what the storyline, what they can and cannot do, and that ending the way she ended it was so smart. She not only figured it out, she figured out what the Predator can and cannot see, but also how to utilize the helmet. That was epic. Like the Predator didn't even know. I just like, oh shoot, it was at this moment he knew he fucked up. That was that's like the meme.
It was such a great oh shit moment. But again, in the and why I'm so disappointed in people who think they know how to talk about movies, calling her Mary Sue. Because she is absolutely not. It is the same type of character investment that we get for Ripley in Aliens, where we're given just these little bits throughout the entire film, so that then when we get to the end, it makes sense that the character can do what the character does. I still think Ripley is the template. If you invest in a character and you take the time to show the audience what the character can do, when the character does something amazing at the end, it's totally earned. And I said this, I mean, like last week, it's the end of Aliens. I'm sorry, spoilers for the end of Aliens. But when Ripley fights the alien queen, we have already been shown through 2 hours of film that Ripley is mechanically educated, that she is clever,
Yep.
that she is curious, that she works with the Marines to figure out, like, there's that whole scene with her and Hicks, like, well, show me how this assault rifle works. And he's like, well, you probably don't want to mess with the grenade launcher. And she's like, no, show me everything. Show me the grenade launcher. So when we finally get to the climactic finale, everything she does has been earned in some other part of the film.
Yep.
And Naru is built almost exactly the same way in Prey. And so if you like your tough 80s female action heroes, your Ellen Ripleys, your Sarah Connors, your Holly McClanes, Naru is almost perfectly cut from that same kind of template, where the entire movie teaches her how to get to that point.
And it's through mistakes, through challenges, through underestimating her capabilities and so on, and people continually kind of putting obstacles, and she just keeps fighting through it. And I think that's the beauty of the story, so that when you do get to the end, you do understand how, like, you know, like there was that,
totally
even that little bit where she was able to learn about the flower that her mom used to use, that special medicine that the mom used, and she's like, but she never told her about it. But then she was able to watch her and learn about it, and you can see her healing the dog, healing the soldier, and the injured. So it's those little things. When
I'm gonna have to watch this movie again. Go for 6.
Once you see, seriously, I'm surprised you haven't seen it, but once you see this, you cannot unsee it.
I'm gonna have to watch it for the arm. This is hilarious.
Yeah, you just gotta find this reappearing arm.
I completely agree. The finale of Prey is just such a great payoff for what the character goes through. Yeah. Michael Peppertech, anytime you want to chat ridiculous
any of these movie
critique and stuff.
So if you haven't, you gotta start with Prey. Start with Prey and drive. And let Hulu drive you through the rest.
Actually, I don't know. We're losing audience because, like, we're already running long for 2 hours. Our normal 90-minute podcast is going into.
You said movie at the end, and then I had the like, oh wait, I'm supposed to talk about that.
So for the few people watching, I feel.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, for sure. I feel there are good arguments. Like, let's just say we're going to narrow it down to just. Like, Marilyn's got to go. And Marilyn, thank you for sticking with. You've gone above and beyond, Marilyn.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I feel there are good arguments in both directions to watch chronologically in the world of the movies. So you start with Prey, then you go Predator, then you go Predator 2. And then there are also good reasons to go release date. So you would go Predator 1, Predator 2, then Prey. And I'm not sure which would really deliver the better experience.
I think from the I can have an argument on both ends. On one end, obviously, there's the chronological order. You understand the story. You can see how it kind of built up from one to the other. But for me, it's also the production value, like the quality of the videos. If you start watching them in the order of 1, 2, then Prey, you see the advancement and the improvements, and you can see that these movies were released at different times with different capabilities at the time when the movies were released. So for me, I feel like that would be the benefit of having gone that way, which is the way we end. Just to be fair, that's how we watched it, because you went 1, 2, then Prey. You didn't do Prey first; it wasn't available.
Right,
so
that's true.
Yeah, at the end of the day, and we still appreciated Prey for what it is, and then we were able to pick up on little cues.
TK,
so,
what if we did? Okay, what if?
There's a what if.
What if we did Predator, Prey, and then Predator 2?
One step forward, one step back, 2 step forward.
Right.
I don't know. I gotta try that. I gotta try to see if the timeline would be. It would make sense because it has elements of one. I mean, there's a lot of throwback to one. There's a lot of scenic throwback to one. The if it can bleed, it can die kind of thing. Those statements,
right?
You're like,
and there are those lines. That. You are one ugly mother. Yeah,
literally. And then ending it with the gun, and then jumping into 2.
No, don't, because Michael Pepper hasn't watched any of them.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's fun.
The gun has no significance.
You have not heard the gun.
Uh,
That is not the gun you're looking into or for.
regardless,
Yeah, sorry.
Michael Peppertech. There are all these different. I'm a huge nut for horror and suspense, and especially movies that really kind of build up tension.
Yeah.
That is not Predator, but Predator has become one of my favorite movie villains. And again, for Twin Folk Tech, I think it's hilarious because the Alien versus Predator films are awful. They're just terrible. So I made it through The Predator, and then on a whim, I was like, how bad could Alien versus Predator really be?
Yeah.
I just sat through The Predator, and I made it 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, I remember, this movie sucks. And I turned it off. I finished The Predator, and that movie is bad. I couldn't make it through Alien versus Predator. But the one of the reasons why I very much enjoy Predator as a movie monster is
Yep.
because of the first film's deconstruction of the 80s action tropes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot smarter than people give it credit for. It does belong in a conversation similar to a masterpiece like Die Hard. It's okay that this is over the top 80s action. It's over the top 80s action done really well. And so I think it would probably make the most sense to start off with Predator and have that kind of historical appreciation. Like whether or not it still holds up in all aspects and special effects is definitely a lot of schlock that happens in that movie. But I think it's also sort of historically significant for being a transition out of the big musclehead, roid raging 80s action stars.
No, and I think that's the enjoyment of it. You go into it, you understand that and expect it. And again, if you have some time over the weekend, Michael, I definitely recommend you going through it.
So
It doesn't hurt to go in the chronological, but I think the
yeah,
one Prey 2 time. Yeah.
I'm going to say Michael Pepper's, and again, I was being really cheeky and stuff because he's asking what should I watch and in what order. If we're just talking about the Predator films, I think you've got a really satisfying trilogy going Predator, Predator 2, Prey.
Then, yeah.
In going in theatrical release order, I think Predator 1 is a classic example of high concept 80s action. Predator 2 is going to be the low point of the series. It is schlocky and 90s, and it tries to add to the story in ways that don't really make the story better, but they're very 90s. And then I think you finish strong with Prey. And so I think that would be my recommendation, is to kind of fit the trilogy
The
that
way
way.
most, because that's exactly how everybody saw the movies in anyways. So you experienced it in the same order. Yeah, you're right.
But the reason why I'm saying you can probably abbreviate the Predator experience, I find when we do Alien versus Predator, when we do Predators, and when we do The Predator, those three films should be their own separate trilogy of expanded Predator lore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've got interesting ideas, but I don't think they make for good movies. Predator, Predator 2, and Prey are humans being hunted, unstoppable force, crazy movie monster, but they're more contained.
Mm-hmm.
Predators, The Predator, and what was the other one that I just said?
So the Predator is the Predator, and then Predator. No, that's you were talking about the last three, right?
Predators, The Predator. I'm missing a Predator film in there. Regardless,
yeah.
the other Predator films.
It is lit. No, it's kidding. Yeah, right.
The other Predator films try to add so much more science fiction that they don't keep the movie monster intensity. So I would more comfortably push those.
Oh, there's Predators, The Predator, and then there is Aliens.
Oh, okay. And the Alien versus Predators.
Yeah. The Alien.
So I guess that's actually a quartet of films, but yeah.
Because then you'd start venturing into the other and changing the story. But I mean, overall, either way, I think the movies those are fun movies to watch, and with their cheesiness and their fun parts, and Arnold, being himself, and everybody being jack ripped going into this experience, but basically just Arnold walks away. It's just funny. But yeah, no, with that being said, I do realize we're running a little bit late for everybody else. I do want to say first, thank
We
you.
need to do a half hour
I
talking about
know,
Planning.
and it was like literally when we were like an hour and 50 minutes, and he said the word
I
movie,
love
and I
it.
was like, crap, we have no. I mean, I've been wanting to circle back because I haven't had a chance to have. Yeah, Juan and I
For sure.
didn't have a chance to kind of circle back. This RCS debacle has
We
been
we were trying to
destroying us.
we were trying to chat over text and you're like, I don't think TK got what I meant. Oh, he just didn't get the message that I said.
Yeah,
Okay, that's why
no,
we're not
he would send me
firing on all cylinders
screenshots of
here.
his conversations with me, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I didn't get
Oh, right.
those. No, you talked to the other TK. Um,
But
but yeah,
also MPT, and anytime, literally anytime you need me to just regurgitate years of stored up and pent up nerddom for horror films and action films and suspense films, just hit me up. I'll give you hours of commentary on the history of zombies.
absolutely. No, I
It's
absolutely, and
fascinating stuff.
I love it, Jeff, and everybody. We do appreciate it. I know typically we try to keep it around the 2 hours, but there was that nice. It was a nice streak. So, for sure, more content, more things kind of coming up. I will say this much: we're going to let you guys know how things are going to be for next week's episode. There obviously seems to be things that we need to discuss.
Once we figure it out,
Once
yeah.
we figure it out, and once I figure out where I'm going to be exactly for our time, because there's that whole. I'm traveling on Wednesday. There's two separate trips that I'm doing. On Wednesday, I'm transitioning from one to the other, and that's when I go from local to international. And there's quite a bit of that where
Yeah.
I'm in the air and I can't be on even the internet online there. It doesn't work. But I do want to say thank you very much for everybody hanging out with us. Look forward to some good content. Juan, anything that you're still planning on dropping this weekend before the SGGQA? Anything that we can maybe look forward to? Sorry.
Maybe. Again, we've got to talk about what's going on with scheduling. I put
That's
out
true.
an article talking, sort of revisiting the LGV60,
Yeah, in
and that
2022. Yep.
really lit up kind of just. I mean, like, again, I'm getting a little burnt out on some of the videos that I'm making, but there are still these conversations that I want to keep up with. And so there are a couple things that I think I'm going to start moving back into text pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really feel they deserve follow-ups. The Honor Magic 4 is
Mm-hmm.
such a good phone, and it needs a little bit more of a lived-in experiential follow-up. The Axon,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you got
so
the Axon
good.
40. Yeah.
I mean, it's a budget ultra, and it really deserves just that little bit of extra. I've been playing with it. I've been doing this. I've been trying to utilize that. It's gotten a couple more updates than any other ZTE that I've used in the history of using ZTE. So much of that, I feel like I can't keep making videos for all of that because then I get too delayed. I never really finish it, and then it just kind of gets pushed to the side when new stuff comes out.
Yeah.
So I think those are now gonna have to live on as text pieces, but
Okay.
I still feel like it's worth putting the time into just writing out some experiences and saying like, this is a phone that really does deserve to be called an Ultra. The Magic 4 really does deserve to be called a Pro. These
Yep.
things are a lot better, and they've gotten better with
Oh,
just a few
absolutely.
little software updates too.
Yeah,
So
those are the things that you need to. This is going to be inevitably the story with every device. As time goes on and as you live with it, you definitely do get a better experience because the companies do learn from their mistakes and they're listening and they're trying to fix things. It's not a one version software you get there and you're done. So, but it's nice. At least you're giving the opportunity to give yourself, be able to put it more into words and still get the content out. And
yeah,
for
and I
me, I
feel
think
like
that's
that's
always a
the kind
winner.
of
Yeah.
stuff I missed doing the most at Pocket Now when we kind of killed the After the Buzz
Oh
series.
yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
And I want to get back to a bit more of that, but I can't make them all videos. So I think I'm hoping to maybe get an Axon piece out tomorrow or
Okay.
Saturday. I
Okay.
don't know that that's going to happen, but
We'll look
I kind of
forward to
feel like it
seeing that.
deserves it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then for me, tomorrow I'm shooting to drop the Fold 4 versus Fold 3, and then of course I have to package up the Fold 3 to go. And then maybe a Z Flip 4 video over the weekend, kind of carry me through, and then um, start shooting some content ahead of time for next week. Since I'm traveling, I'm not going to be able to do a lot of in studio content. So kind of preparing myself, I put some things I can edit on the flight or even, at the hotel when I'm sitting. So the overall approach for me next week. So we'll have a live stream on Saturday. Hopefully, I'll have a live stream on Saturday next week. I'm not sure, but we'll have to figure that out with the timing. But again, thank you very much for everybody for hanging out with us. Thank you, Tech Love and Mama, Ash, Michael Peppertech, Jeff, Farhan, of course, everybody, Twin Folk in there as well. I think Aditya, of course, always thank you very much. Ron, Marilyn was in there earlier as well, and of course we had Adam in there. I hope you guys do great. I hope you guys have fun this week. I'll see you Saturday, and of course we'll see you again with the SGGQA on Monday, and we'll have to see. We'll let you guys know about next week, but hopefully just enjoy your week and enjoy your tech in it. If you have a new Fold and a new Z Flip, let us know. Hit us up on the internets and let us know
what cool stuff with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do the best that you can. So be safe, stay safe. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.